Bray Wyatt is back in WWE. That's right. Bray Wyatt returned at Extreme Rules in what arguably could be the most epic fashion, possibly one of the best returns of all time. We're going to be discussing all about Bray Wyatt, all about the return. What can he mean going forward? Is the White Rabbit completely finished? Is Bray the White Rabbit? Is there more details to come? Are there more superstars returning that could be linked to Bray Wyatt? Brian Alvarez, in particular, has released one name earlier today. We're going to talk about some character change potentially for Liv Morgan. We're going to talk about a new SmackDown Women's Champion in Ronda Rousey. We're going to talk about the soap opera that is Edge versus Finn Balor and the Judgment Day. Oh, did I love that? And of course, we'll be talking about some good old fashion Donnybrook with the Brawling Brutes and Imperium as well. There's so much to digest in that show. And I've got to tell you, overall, all in all, I thought it was a fun time. But I'm joined by the one and only NXSteve in-house. Steve, how are you doing, my friend? And your initial reaction after Extreme Rules?
He's got the whole world in his hand. He's got the whole wide world. No, trust me, mate, fantastic. Absolutely loved it. Sorry to be creepy at the start of the show. Just absolutely gassed after last night. Just thought it was amazing. It played out better than what I was expecting it to be. I mean, we was talking up until sort of halfway through the show, and we were still theorizing what could possibly happen by the end of the show, but it delivered on a lot more than what it was possibly going to be for me. So overall, thoroughly enjoyed it and thoroughly entertained. And yeah, thanks for having me on to do this review, man, because I'm really excited to talk about it.
Absolutely. It's great to have you on to talk about it. And don't worry about any ideas about being creepy. That's the norm here on SCW. It's how we start all videos here. So that's nothing out of the ordinary for anyone that's seen these videos before. But I must admit, we should have started the video that way. We could have done a unison, a duet. We could have had some karaoke going on. Would have been quite special to see on the channel. But no, like you said that, you know, it was executed so well. We came up with new theories going into the show as well. I even said on Twitter, even on here at one point, I didn't have time to do a live stream yesterday, but I thought myself, what if the target was the White Rabbit rather than Bray himself? But we'll be talking more in detail about that. Let's talk about the return first. But just before we do, let's quickly just say hello to our chat who've been so generous to come in nice and early. We've got Tina's Time saying, let's go. Absolutely, indeed. Let's go, indeed. He says, last night was perfect and was, how they did the whole thing. I've got a funny feeling that Tino enjoyed it, and we did as well. KXI in the house as well. What's going on, Steve's? I like the plural in that as well, KXI. Thank you for joining us, as well as a big thank you to Noob and Co as well. Hey, Steve and Silky, that's right. And Tino seeing as well. We've got the whole world in his hands, so it looks like it's unison going across of everyone that's watching right now. At Tino's Time, I turned the lights off and joined the amazing Steve. Did you make it to the end of the show? Well, myself personally, no, I did not. I made it halfway through. I got to the end of Karrion, Kross and Drew McIntyre watching it live. I did the rest this morning because obviously in the UK time zone, it was late. I'm going to keep it clean for now, but by the time I went to sleep, it was nearly 3 o'clock in the morning, my time. That's how late it was. And we've got Underground Temple Plays in house as well. Says evening, lads. And of course, he says Papa H has given us 2 W's on Friday and yesterday. There's been quite a lot of those. And David Hurley, Bama Dave, is this SCW live? If so, let me in.
Let me in.
You couldn't have written that better, Bama. Thank you so much. The Bama Chatter in the house will be joining us for a live stream very soon as well. We've got 2 Sweet Carl as well from On the Mark Wrestling Podcast. Hello to the MVM and NXSteve. Absolutely superb stuff indeed. And Richard Robes is in the house. Richard, you may have to owe our good friend NXSteve an apology, saying that Edge and Finn Balor finish would never happen. He says at WWE, the bump, Bianca and Wyatt will talk to each other about their moments. Bianca and will talk to Alexa, and Bray will talk to Bianca's love dolls. It all sounds like something I wouldn't be watching, even if it was true. But at the same time, what I will say is NXSteve, a lot of people have joined us in the house there already, which is great to see. Everyone, please hit the like button, share and subscribe as well if you haven't already. Pretty sure most of those have subscribed. But let's talk about Bray Wyatt. Let's kick it off in the big detail. The big moment, of course, the show ended, of course, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, although if you're watching the view, you probably have. Riddle defeating Seth Rollins in, of course, the Fight Pit match. We got to the point then where we saw Daniel Cormier raising Rizzle's arm in sort of like the entranceway. And of course, in the good old NXT TakeOver fashion, we got that sort of like bit where it comes out where it says like it's the end of the show. And then the lights went out. And once the lights went out, We saw the phones going off. We got the magical song that's been done in the chat, and of course sung by your wonderful self as well. And I've got to say that'll be a great karaoke song for you in the future. The whole world in his hands got everybody going. From the point then we got some sort of shots into the crowd. We got sort of like the characters of the Firefly Funhouse brought to life, giving us Huskers, giving us Abigail. Of course, had the Brody Lee Bludgeon Brothers mask on, which I thought was a really nice touch. We had the Rambling Rabbit, aka the White Rabbit, there as well. We had Husky as well. We saw the Burnt Fiend mask on the commentary table, which freaked out Michael Cole and Corey Graves. Remember, the lights kept flickering out and coming up again for those moments. So Cole and Graves, I thought, did this magnificent, by the way. They weren't sure if we were on the air or not. The way they sold it, I thought, was tremendous. And then we got to the front row, and then we saw a Fiend Bray Wyatt, which you could see was not the real one, but it just looked fun the way that was done as well. Then we sort of had the sort of the cuts of these scenes of the Firefly Funhouse. Looked like everything was sort of closed down, if you want. It felt a little bit like it was almost closed off completely. We saw like everything, you could tell it had been left for a year.
Abandoned theme park kind of thing.
Exactly. You know, it's almost like, you know, when you go on holiday for a while and you come back and you find the house is dirty, you need to clean everywhere up again. It's kind of that kind of vibe you got to do. But at the same time, it's like, you know, we then got to the point where we had this sort of door given to us. We had like this blue lighting, which, I mean, was a nice touch. It looked like it was a bit of a tribute to Brody Lee as well. Of course, it was the day after the anniversary of Brody Lee's last wrestling match as well. So I wonder if that had to play a part with the return here for Bray Wyatt, just speculating that part there. But of course, as we kept been building up, we saw that sort of that door kick through. We saw the old style lantern, not the Fiend lantern, the old style lantern, and we got Bray Wyatt come through to the holy S chants of Philadelphia, as only they can do it, just like an old ECW vibe. It felt just watching it there. This for me felt special. It was special because it felt like one of the best returns of all time, in my opinion. No, like some people go with CM Punk last year, felt very real the way that his return was to professional wrestling after so far away. One that always stays with me, of course, is Triple H in Madison Square Garden after a long layoff injury back in 2002. The roar of MSG was one of those biggest roars you've ever heard for a return. For me, this had that kind of vibe where I felt that Bray had been away for a year. Everyone wanted this. We've been culminating with this White Rabbit story for so long, and we finally felt ourselves, we've got a payoff here. And not only we got a payoff of what we knew what we were getting, they could have stopped it at the end there with the abandoned kind of Firefly Funhouse and knowing he's coming back. But when is he coming back? They gave us everything in one. And I can tell you what, the place erupted. It felt like it was magic. For me, it was pure 10 out of 10.
Yeah, the only thing that really irritates me is on the YouTube clip, they've taken out the Holy S chants and they've just dubbed it with generic audio, which really irritates me because it was such a key moment to that scene. But otherwise, yeah, I just, like I said it to you, I thought it was perfect. The way that, like, even we was talking just like up to the start of the show, and I was like, oh, it's just a last minute prediction. I even said to you, I think Rollins and Riddle will go last, and Bray will attack Rollins, and we'll get some sort of justification for that BS no DQ Hell in a Cell match that we had. But like it just turned out much better. Like he didn't attack anyone, so what's he here for? Who's he after? What's he gonna do? And it's just like you turn it off. You like it finished, and I'm like, my God, I'm gonna have to stay up tomorrow night to watch Raw now because inevitably something will happen tonight. I mean, yeah, obviously it's a special show anyway. It's what, the 25th anniversary of Raw. So DX are going to be on it. So it's going to be amazing. But the fact that we got Bray Wyatt come back and he didn't do anything, essentially. He just was there and it was perfect. He showed up. He said, let me in, even though the microphone on the camera didn't pick it up too well. But we all know what it was. Blew out the thing. And that was it. It was the end. And like I said, the like you were saying, the NXT trick where they put the copyright stamp in the bottom corner. And I was like, nah, this ain't ending like this, right? We're going for another 4 weeks before we get a conclusion to this. And it was like, no. And then Michael Cole, beautifully. Are we still on the air? It was fantastic. It was one of them in the last 3 years. No, probably 3 or 4 years. WWE have put on some amazing returns. They've had Edge come back at the Rumble, Cody at Mania, and now this one. It just seems to be that if you are a big enough name coming back to WWE, they've got the ability to make you look like $1 million coming in from day one.
I love that you mentioned those names as well, because obviously those are very recent. Cody was only at WrestleMania this year. Feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? It's been so long this year. It's been so much has been happening. Obviously, Edge's one been a very special one. Of course, it's still placed in the storylines now. But I mean, like you said, that it was done so well, Bray Wyatt. And I think what some of the key things you mentioned there was we don't actually know the direction. We don't know yet why Bray is back. We just know he's back. Obviously, there was a tweet that was put out, and he responded to that tweet, and I think it was like, "I missed you." It's kind of like that's one of the reasons he's probably legitimately back. He's missed the people, but
apparently it was something to do with someone, maybe even Bray's kid, watching him come back, and it was like he responded to it by saying, "This is why I'm back. I miss you guys," and I'm like, it was brilliant, man.
It was very special. It was very special. But we left with lots of questions, more than answers. Like you said, we have to tune into Raw. We have to see SmackDown. Who actually killed the world? We don't actually know who killed the world in his eyes. They start to speculate now who that target is going to be going forward. Before we go into that, though, I want to quickly ask you, because there's always been this rumors going around going into the show as well about the idea of the White Six, the idea of a White sort of family going forward. It looks to me, just going from what I've seen so far, obviously things can change as we go along. We've got a new mask, by the way, that we've not mentioned about there, which looked
beautiful.
Quite beautiful, but obviously quite eerie at the same time. But it feels like we got a new incarnation of Bray, more towards the Eater of Worlds rather than the Fiend going forward. Maybe it's going to be the best of both combined into two. But we saw those puppets brought to life in the arena. And I start to wonder, yes, you look at them, and yes, the first thing I think of is the Backstreet Boys, that music video for Everybody back in the 90s. I know I'm showing my age, but at the same time, I look at it and think to myself, are we getting the White Six? Will there be reveal after reveal where we get people that come and join Bray? Because when Bray was in the Eater of Worlds, yes, he was strong when he was on his own. He was a former world champion, but also he had the White family. He had the likes of, someone like Eric Rowan who could come back at some point, who's still not really attached to him. He's done a few appearances here and there's Eric bid for AEW. There are rumors, and here's the first one I'm going to say to you now. Bryan Alvarez has reported that Bo Dallas has re-signed with WWE. Could you believe it if he was to be a part of the White Six? Because it's family after all. He could finally be doing something meaningful in WWE rather than running around the ring saying Bo leave to my catchphrase or being a part of the B team. I'd like to see Bo actually have a proper role, because the guy is actually pretty talented and gives his all to what he's given.
Yeah, it's really like baffling, because you don't know, like you said, if it's a faction of 6 people, that seems like a really big faction to have. But then you just don't know, like if. Like, I can't imagine he'll have someone else play the Fiend, because that's his character. Like, I can imagine he'll have people play Huskus, Mercy, Ramblin' Rabbit, and Abigail, because he's never apart from Huskus, which was what he was back in NXT as Husky Harris. But I don't know. It's just so many unanswered questions. The White Six thing, yes, it could be a faction, but maybe he's going to do a Mick Foley and have 6 split personalities. Who knows? I don't know. It really is really intriguing, and it gives me 90s Undertaker vibes, because when we were as a kid, when you saw the Undertaker, and everyone was terrified of the Undertaker because this dark presence, and he was mystical and almost sort of like like witchcraft and wizardry kind of. It gave me the same kind of feelings, and it's like, this is what Bray should have been all along to me. He should have been not essentially the next Undertaker, but the next character to replicate the Undertaker. He could have been like, the Undertaker was never known for his world champion. I think he was world champion 3 times his entire career, but his career is built on his character and what he's done over 4 or 5 decades. And this is essentially what Bray Wyatt can do now. And to have him back, I tell you what, it's going to be amazing. I think there's a guy, I think his name's, is it Dan Fee? Apparently he's like part of the creative team for WWE. He's in control of like long-term narrative and stuff. Yes. And he was like a major part of this whole thing and bringing back like the direction for bringing him back. And like I said, if this guy's doing that stuff, man, imagine what else they can do.
That's the thing now. It's open season going forward. And Bray, like you said, is the ability to reinvent himself all the time. Like the Undertaker did. Undertaker knew how to reinvent himself. Bray needs to be that attraction going forward. He needs to have like the purpose of story to carry him through WWE. Not the purpose necessarily of being the pressure of being a world champion, the idea of being undefeated, the idea of, you know, this unstoppable monster. Yes, he can be a monster. Yes, he can be difficult to beat. But I mean, you look at some of the great ones like Kane, for example, went through the start of the unstoppable monster, but he kept himself relevant going through the years. Let's forget corporate Kane for a second, though, shall we? But at the same time, you think to yourself, like, they went on for like 20 odd years, to Undertaker 30 under those gimmicks. Mankind obviously was another one of those that of that style of gimmick where I think could be a perfect link with Bray because of the fact that, you know, they're sort of similar size in stature and, you know, they throw their bodies to the wall. That's the sort of Bray I want to see going forward. Someone that can tell a great story, doesn't necessarily need to win every time, but needs to be strong enough where you see him as believable in that role each and every time. Because if it's just like Bray Wyatt of old where he lost every time, then yeah, you start to not believe the message.
Yeah, I mean the other things that I sort of like, don't get me wrong, Bray Wyatt isn't the best in-ring wrestler. Like, yes, he has ability. He's not like, he isn't up there with like the cruiserweights or like, for instance, the Kevin Owens for me. But it's his character work that he does in ring that makes him special. It's the stuff like, remember when Undertaker just used to sit up and like their opponent would just be like, "What's going on with that?" You just wouldn't have a clue. And then like they can do the same thing with him. It's like you can make him the way you just like he goes into the turnbuckle, goes back and arches on his back and stuff. It's some strange, crazy stuff to watch, and it's just that's what he should be. And like I said, I'm just really excited to see what he's going to do next.
Me too. And that's the question. Just before we go to the chat, because obviously a lot of comments have come flying in. We want to give everyone a bit of love and time for everyone that's taken the time to actually get involved with this video. But what is the direction? Who killed the world? For me, there's 2 or 3 names that instantly come to mind. The first one, I think that's obvious and goes completely against what I'm saying, by the way. And I hope they delay this. I think they could build this over the next coming weeks, by the way. I think it could be the next interesting part of the Bray character, the clues of why he's back to who killed the world. But one you could go straight away is Roman Reigns, because he's defeated everybody. No one stopped Roman Reigns. He's been champion for 700 days. He was the one that took the title, I believe, from Bray Wyatt, if I'm not mistaken, at that time. Was it from Braun Strowman at SummerSlam back a couple of years ago? That does escape me. Someone in the comments do remind me. But at the same time, the Fiend at that point has not been to the top of the mountain since. That certainly is a number one name that you could see. Alexa Bliss, of course, is another one because, well, that WrestleMania ending, and of course that was when he got ridden off into the sunset the night afterwards. But the person he was feuding with was Randy Orton. Of course, Orton's not on TV right now, so it feels unlikely it would be him. But I did mention to you that Riddle's about, and Riddle is the bro, it feels these days, for Randy Orton. The teammate isn't something he could do in the meantime.
But even Seth Rollins, because of obviously the DQ match and how that stuff happened, you could even say, even for instance, John Cena. I mean, like, we know John Cena's not that active, but we had the whole Firefly Funhouse match at WrestleMania, and we got NWO John Cena, and it was like there is no definitive. Like, it's exactly the same as the build for his return. We just haven't got an absolute Scooby. So it could be a list of anyone. I'd like to think that it's every single one of them, and he's just going to take them one by one by one. But where he's going to start, you'd imagine he would start with Roman Reigns. But again, depending on if they're going to do Roman Rock at Mania, is Bray going to be the one to take the title off of Roman? Not that Bray doesn't. I don't think the character needs a title, but it could be. Because, like I said, going into Mania, Rock and Roman doesn't need championship titles. Like you said, he could be the one that he goes for.
You never know. You never know. This is the thing. The doors are open. Well, the door literally came open at the end of Extreme Rules, and I think that's what's got everybody talking. That's what we're seeing right now. We don't know where it's going to lead to, but like I say, for me, the best thing they could do right now is to open the door on Raw and SmackDown by giving us more clues. Give us more clues. Don't make it so obvious here. Maybe just have Bray do some of his creepy stuff that he did backstage just to build it up towards near Crown Jewel. Perhaps even Halloween. For me, I think Halloween Raw is on the 31st of October this year will be the perfect place to do this. And perhaps even get Bo in, or if he's going to have this faction starting to build up.
Yeah, I mean, even do things like maybe like a live action Firefly Funhouse. Instead of having the puppets, he has the characters there instead.
True. Yeah,
because now I'll tell you what, that Random Rabbit head is terrifying. I was like, Jesus, that whoever made that is a genius, because that is genuinely terrifying. But yeah, it could be a list of anything like live action Firefly Funhouse. It could be, yeah, we just don't know. It's just too unpredictable, and it's really frustrating because for so long we just used to, yeah, this is going to happen. Now this is going to happen, and now we've got to the point where we were 30 years ago, where we're like, I don't know what's going to happen. I need to tune in next week now. I need to know what's going to happen. It's going to drive me mad. And it's like if it's a case of he's only going to be on Raw, I have to wait 7 days to find out what he's going to do next, and it's going to get really frustrating and it's really irritating. This is my thing I was saying to you before about the Netflix problem. I'm used to having everything on demand right now, and I don't want to have to wait.
Yeah, it's true. It's the modern world. It's how we have got it these days. We've got it too well. But do you know what? If we can get it back to that, God, it's beautiful. And God, it does take it as a throwback. And I mean, what I will say, this is the last question I'm going to ask before we go to the chat, because you've all been so patient. Thank you, everybody, so far who is tuning in and hopefully sticking with us as well. My question then to you is this. Is Bray the White Rabbit, or is Bray just returned and still after the White Rabbit? Or is that White Rabbit in the crowd who's going to be unveiled like a Bo Dallas later down the line, like you perhaps suggested on a live stream that we did recently?
Yeah, but the vignettes that, even from the graphics, I would like to think that the White Rabbit is going to be someone that he's after. Because even the one that they were the production value on last night was amazing. Like even during the Brawling Brutes entrance, they played the graphic again of the rabbit hitting the X and going. And I was like all the way through. I was texting you, Gan, this rabbit's going to be the end of my life existence because I'm sick tired of waiting to see what's going to happen. But yeah, it was like, if you look at that graphic, the rabbit jumps into the X and then fire shoots out of the ground. So I'd like to think that the White Rabbit is someone he's after. Who it's going to be, I don't know. Logic would say Alexa Bliss for me, because if it obviously of what happened when he left, and I don't know, would you say she essentially betrayed him at Mania? I'd like to think that she was first on the list, but then again, why would you write her out from a narrative point in the women's tag team division from Raw Monday? So who knows?
We'll have to wait and see how it's going to play out. But like you said there, Alexa would make a lot of sense, as I think quite a few names would do. But let's go to the chat, because there is a whole Extreme Rules show that we need to talk about as well. We're already 20 minutes in, and Bray Wyatt has stolen the show. I mean, quite literally, he did. And one thing I will say as well, credit to Triple H. We've had 3 Premium Live events with him. At the end of SummerSlam, we had the tractor going on with the ring tilted literally the wrong way around. We had Solo Sikoa, of course, with the finale. Let's not mention the karaoke clash of the castle. And let's talk about this one here with Bray Wyatt. We've had talking points, cliffhangers at the end of every Premium Live event, something to scream and shout about each and every time. So credit where it is due. Tino's time, you are not wrong. We need to figure out who these characters are. Everybody, we need to do that. And yes, I'm doing another Backstreet Boys reference, but the last one I promised to do. Underground Temple says, when we heard we had got the whole world in his hands, did you mark out like I did? Plus, on the Fly Funhouse guys had Brody Lee's mask on. Absolutely, we did notice that mask being on, and I must admit, yeah, I did get the goosebumps came over. I was quite happy to feeling that we've got Bray Wyatt coming back.
This is why, unfortunately, I have to stay up later now and watch these things, because if I'd have not stayed up, I'd have felt like I'd really missed a special moment live. Like, no discredit to you, because obviously I'm used to just staying up every month now. I'm used to staying up for pay-per-views and just be like, yeah, do you know what? It's fine. I'll get 4 hours sleep. I'll make it up the next day. But like, I've always grown up on the premises of that. I remember watching, like, you watch clips that they play back now, like, I don't know, the DX bus being blown up by Austin. I remember staying up to watch it, and it's just how I've always been with wrestling now. So I find it very hard to not stay up and watch them live. But yeah, when the lights went out, everyone got their phone out, and the fireflies were out. My wife was doing a TikTok live as I had headphones on and I was watching it. And my wife started screwing at me because I was being too loud while she was doing her TikTok live. And I was like, you shut up, right? This is an important moment. You shut up.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. It just shows it can bring emotions, it can bring energy. Because I'll be honest with you. I'm not someone I can watch wrestling. I will pop for certain things, but I don't pop sitting on the sofa at home as much as I used to when I was younger. But nowadays it would take a special moment. But for that, I must admit, big smile, ear to ear. I was like a Cheshire cat, honestly. I was really pleased to see what was coming next. And to each level, it went up and up and up. And when we got the reveal, you couldn't help but just think, yes, he's back, and I'm happy he's back, and I love the way they did it.
But it was like I was saying, like all the way through the show, they just had little things, like they played the image through the Brawling Brutes. Then there was a bit of a moment where Bianca Belair was one moment she's standing next to the ring, the second minute she's on the apron, like the screen had glitched, and then during one of the video packages, there was like this static around the outside, and I'm texting you going, "This rabbit's gonna be the end of me."
It just shows how much investment there was involved in this. And Kate, so with a great question towards the end of this as well. I thought Bray's debut was perfect. Love how they didn't give anything away. Like, we still don't know who his first feud will be, or if he's a face, heel, or tweener. Something we've not discussed. Do we see Bray as a face, a heel, or a tweener moving forward?
I don't think he's going to be either. If anything, you'd probably say tweener more than anything, but I don't think he's going to be one of these people that plays to the crowd, where he plays to the cheers, he plays to the boos. I think he'll just be a character that's purely focused on his target and what he's doing in ring. He won't necessarily react to crowds' reactions. He won't like pause for cheers and all this kind of stuff. I think if anything, he will probably more likely be tweener, but he will be someone who just doesn't react at all to anything.
I think that could be interesting if they went down that avenue. I think it could be interesting also the other way. You see how even Seth Rollins is as a heel, gets everyone singing along with his theme tune, absolutely loves it. He lets it in. He really lets it in. And I think Bray could do a similar vibe with like the whole world in his hands and these different vibes, and obviously with the lights up, because it's so over right now. And the fact is, he literally feels like the biggest star in the company by just walking back through the door.
But it just depends on who the White Rabbit is, or who his first target is. Because if he's Roman, then surely he's going to be face.
Absolutely.
If it's someone, for instance, like Drew McIntyre, he's surely got to be heel. But I mean, I just purely think for me, he'll just be tweener, and he will just be cheered no matter what he does. Like you said, we saw it last night. He stood there as soon as he took that mask off, which gave me very like V for Vendetta like I remember looking at the DVD cover of that film and looking, I was like, that's a pretty cool mask. And I was like, that's, for me, it was along them kind of lines. But when he took it off and that crowd popped, it was like, for me, I'm sitting there thinking, how the hell was he not smiling? Because it was almost like he's waiting for that. He's almost waiting for, I'm like, if he brings, I'm like, do you know, I would love to see if he brings back the Vince McMahon puppet, because I would absolutely love it. Just as a case of turning around and saying to him, I proved you wrong. I am something special, kind of thing.
I love that. Oh, how brilliant would that be? And to be fair, it's more on the babyface side, but still, I mean, that would be absolutely brilliant. I mean, I felt Bray's done his best work as a heel, but let's wait and see. Like you said, a tweener could be the right way going forward, because everyone's going to be cheering him whatever he does. Underground Temple says, give me Bo Dallas with Bray. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. We definitely want to see that. Two Split Carl says, I never trust that thing that shows up in the bottom corner until we see some network peacock plug. I think it's probably safe to do these days, especially, it feels like it's been brought to the main roster from NXT now.
Yeah, I completely forgot about it because I haven't seen a takeover in so long. And then when he did it, I was like, Triple H, you're a sly dog, man. You stealing NXT stuff now, but I absolutely loved it.
He did it well. He did it well. Carl says Cole was fantastic all night on commentary. Have to agree. I think he's been a completely let off the leash in the last few months, and we've seen the benefit of it, to be fair. Underground says best pop return in a long time. We have to agree with that there. And people on Twitter were going nuts. Tino says it's just a shame I was asleep and missed that. It would have been quite fun to see. But what I will say is, even when doing the tweet for the review today, and that was literally like 14 hours later, there was still about 2,000 tweets that had been done about Extreme Rules in that last hour. So goes to show everybody was talking.
I think at one point he was the top 3 trending topics on Twitter at one point. So it was like, he's back, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. I think were all the top 3 trending.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Hang on, we've got Tina's as well. Thank goodness for wrestling. Absolutely, indeed. There, Noob, of course, saying that this is the 22, maybe the worst year, aside from the passing, including the passing Queen Elizabeth. At least wrestling still keeps us in a good mood, and I think that's what we want. We want everyone to keep us in. We need those escapism. Exactly. I think that's a nice thing to have. KXI as well with a praying hand emoji there for that as well.
Just a thing as well. He broke character as well on Twitter yesterday to talk about is it Sarah Lee who passed away?
Yes, yeah.
And I thought that was, I mean, that just shows the class of the guy. The fact that he, like, we know he's a very, even like his socials are all character of everything, but to do that as well just shows how much of a class the guy is.
Absolutely. And of course, all thoughts go to close friends and family of Sarah Lee, obviously the tragic passing earlier this week. Too Sweet Carl as well goes and say, going to be interesting to have two dark characters with heavily produced entrances with Wyatt and Kross. Hopefully they keep them on separate shows. Otherwise, it may be overkill in his opinion. So does that mean, obviously, Kyle will be suggesting that perhaps Monday Night Raw will be the better destination right now for Bray Wyatt? Which show, if he was to be on one, do you think would be his landed destination?
Yeah, I think Raw is probably the safer bet. It's the 3-hour show. There's more time frame for them to do more of the crazy outlandish stuff because they have the extra hour over SmackDown. I think most of Kross's appearances have been on SmackDown, so he almost seems like he is a SmackDown star at this point.
Absolutely, I can see Wyatt being on SmackDown because I think you are missing the top heavy stars over there. But I think that Triple H is trying to change that. Like you've seen, like people being brought in, like Karrion Kross, for example. We've got Drew there. Sheamus is on another level. Gunther is rising very quickly. We'll be going on to other matches very soon. So do stick with us. But at the same time, what I would say is that I understand what he's saying here with two characters here like that. Maybe it's better for Wyatt to be on Raw. Like you said, there's more time to work with. Let's see how it will play out, but it'd be hard to speculate. I imagine right now,
he could be on both altogether.
Yeah, I mean, Braun's doing it at the moment, so I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Underground says probably going to get hate for this, but Bray Wyatt's return is better than CM Punk's. Certainly shouldn't get hate for it. Absolutely. They are two very different returns. One is very real life, and one is very sports entertainment. You are more than welcome to enjoy one more than the other.
Yeah, I think the thing that helps Punk's return is the fact that it was in Chicago. He's from Chicago, so it does help. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's obviously it's almost like they're brought back. It's two different reasons why they're as good as each other. And I suppose if you have more, like I don't apologize. I don't know who was it. Just said it. Was it Tina?
It was
Underground Temple. Well, yeah, depending on your age, you might not even have an affiliation to Punk. So some people might be right in finding that Bray's Wyatt return was more important than CM Punk's.
Absolutely, and the thing is, it's each to the own. So anyone that gives hate, what are you doing? Get some fresh air. That's what I'd say. We're all allowed opinions. End of the day. Bama Dave says, "I hope we get solo Bray for now. He deserves to have his moment alone and be the solo act. Everyone is expecting a faction or family. I'm not against it, but I don't want it forced. And you know what? I think that's a fair shout. We don't have to have it forced down the front either."
Yeah, I mean, even like his return has been a long, drawn-out process. Even if it's kind of the way like how the Bloodline brought in Solo Sikoa, that Bray brings in people gradually every now and again. It could be a really exciting way for him to do it. But it's Bray that I'm most interested in about. So he doesn't have to have a faction. He can be a solo star, and it will still be amazing.
And that's the thing. It will be. And I've got to say, Solo Sikoa, by the way, the presentation of him has been incredible since going to SmackDown.
Yes.
Bama Dave says they make you look like $1 million because they pay you much more than that. Protect that investment. Well, I mean, under Vince, it didn't always happen, did it? Let's be fair. But under Trips, I've got more faith. And I think this is where we'll see the best of Bray moving forward. We'll try and catch up with some of the comments because we are quite behind on them. But we will then, what we'll do is we'll read a few more out. We'll go through the show. And then we can go to your comments because I think that's the best way to do it. Because otherwise, we're going to get lost in the sea of comments, lost in the key of the show, and then that way we can make sure we give everyone their time in. But Underground says, "I don't want to sound weird, but I kind of want to see Bray Wyatt win the world title in honor of Brody Lee. I have wanted it to happen since Brody's passing. Bray hits the discussed clothesline. 1, 2, 3. It certainly would be a beautiful moment. Obviously, I did mention the idea, and of course, it's pure speculation when I say it, but it is one day after the anniversary of Brody Lee's last match that Bray returned. We said that we noticed the blue lights in there, kind of almost affiliation to where Brody Lee character debuted into AEW, a bit of a tribute there. And we see the Bludgeon Brother mask as well. So there are keys and components then. We know how close they were together there. I wonder if we'll get some magical moments like that some point down the line. But I mean, as Kaxo says, wouldn't be mad at it. Certainly would. Oh, that was Tino's comment. But I wouldn't be mad at it. I think that would be a beautiful moment if and when they do it. But as I say, Bray in the world title, doesn't need to happen immediately for me, but one day certainly would be fine with it. Absolutely. Tina Time says it's time to leave. Absolutely. And do you know what I think it's time? I think it's time we dive into the show because otherwise we'll just have a Bray podcast. And we're here for the Extreme Rules. I know that it's the main topic. We can come back to Bray. I promise you we'll come back to it. We'll come back to the comments as well. But let's just quickly dive in then, Silk, and let's go for our thoughts then of the show. Obviously, I just quickly talk about the open video package because I thought it was quite an ingenious way they did it with the definition of extreme and the kid meant to do it in the spelling beam. Can you use it in the sentence? Can you give me a define? Give me all the rest of it. I thought it was a really fun way to kick off the show. Something a bit different, something fresh and exciting.
Yeah, I was quite impressed with it as well. Like the fact that it was like, oh, can you give me its its origin of birth? And he's just like, Philadelphia. And I was like, this is actually a pretty cool intro, man. It's like, we're just used to normally getting these kind of like half-assed generic video packages. But yeah, man, more of this stuff because for me, it's just another hype thing to get me going because we all know Heyman's one of like the best guys to talk on the mic, and to do it in that style, very unique, very new, and I'm all up for that stuff.
Absolutely. Philadelphia as well. You couldn't get a better voice for it. It's a shame we didn't actually see him on camera on the show. Let's talk about the Imperium versus the Brawling Brutes in the good old-fashioned Donny Brooke match. And let's be fair, not a lot of weapons used, to be fair, in this match. It felt from the start. I mean, obviously, everything around them kind of went quickly. The barrels went flying all over the place. The guardrail didn't survive very long. And like I say, you didn't need many weapons because you have Gunther's hands. They're weapons on their own. The hard-hitting slaps and chops, goodness. The place absolutely loved what these guys brought to this opening match. It was an absolute barn burner. The Shalaneys get involved in the end because, of course, Imperium want to do things the sacred way, but realized they couldn't get the job done. I thought this was really, really well done. Obviously, one of the best spots towards the end of the match as well. Again, the cloverleaf being put onto Gunther. Then, of course, the razor's edge through the table spot I thought was beautiful. And, of course, Sheamus getting the pinfall over Giovanni Vinci, as Jonesy predicted, to get the 1, 2, 3. And I thought it was a really good way to start off the show. This was a really hot opener. As Sheamus would say, banger after banger after banger after banger
after banger. Exactly.
Exactly
that. It was an amazing opening match, and you couldn't have asked for more from 6 great in-ring competitors. Pete Dunne, Butch, whatever you want to call him, as a voice now, and he seems to be enjoying his creative a lot more as well. Ridge Holland, I'm starting to build a lot more for Ridge Holland. Like before, I kind of just saw him as generic British guy in the background now. But Sheamus, for the last 2 years, has just continued to impress me over and over again. And like you guys said on the preview show, with your predictions, you were saying, depending on what the result was, we're going to get the opposite, which I believed as well. But it was just an absolutely fantastic, hard-hitting match. They broke the barrier within 30 seconds. Just to talk about the actual match from SmackDown as well, I actually liked the way they did the tap out. I thought it was really good because it wasn't a case of he was tapping out. It was a case of he was psyching himself up because he didn't continuously tap. It was like right, let me get out of this kind of thing. And I actually really liked it. I know a lot of people screwed on it, but I just thought it was really good. But the match itself, hard hitting as is expected. When Kaiser broke the shillelagh over Sheamus's back, I was like, that's going to sting. And then Gunther gets his revenge with the beats of Bowden yesterday. He got the chops of Bowden on Sheamus last night, and it was absolutely fantastic. And I'd like to think this is going to keep going because I just want to see more. I want to see pure, unadulterated violence between these 6 men because it's so entertaining.
We need the one more match, like you said, after the finish on SmackDown. I must admit, at the time I was a bit when I watched it, but when I looked back at it again and had a bit of a think about it, I saw that Gunther tapped twice. Usually when you see a tap, it's 3 times. You see that 1, 2, 3. And it's like, okay, right, maybe that's a rule. Maybe, like you said, it was almost just psyching himself up. It felt like, for me at the time when I was watching it didn't connect, but I like where it can go going forward because it feels the next time they fight, Sheamus should win the Intercontinental Championship. So let's wait and see what will happen.
It's almost like that's Sheamus's get out of jail clause for a reason to have another match because he's like, you did tap. You may have only tapped twice, but you did tap. So I know I can beat you. I want that IC championship. And then they can push it on to Crown Jewel, Survivor Series, whichever way they want to go with it. But yeah, I'm thoroughly up for seeing these two go at it again because they are putting on banger after banger after banger.
Absolutely. Now, that's your next karaoke song. Someone make that into a tune for us so we can sing that along every time. Let's talk then about the SmackDown Women's Championship. Of course, the Extreme Rules match there between Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey. Not going to lie, I wasn't feeling this match. There's a few things that made me really disconnect from the action. One of them being the baseball bat. Now, the first
Oh,
thing off
God.
with it as well is that we've seen Liv Morgan who wanted to get extreme, and it felt like the Ronda Rousey just was like, I don't need to use the weapon, and it was just a bit like, okay, this is awkward because Liv's been trying to build herself up to be extreme up to this point. Ronda's just not buying it, completely no sold it. It felt like Liv was never a threat, even when then they were using the weapons when Ronda had to get involved. We just see countless baseball like shots with the bat, and it's like that would actually kill somebody if you were like, I can't suspend my disbelief on that. That's the end of the match. Like when you used to see Sting do it back in the day, they were like not really like anywhere to like the level what these two were whacking each other, and I couldn't buy into it. And when it got towards the finish, I thought the finish was creative. I liked the senton through the table bit, the spot that Liv did, and of course then when we had the passing out there at the end with the submission, of course, and Liv smiling, that'll be a great topic of discussion of what could be going forward. But for the match itself, for me, I felt like this was this were lacking for me.
For me personally, I can only blame Ronda Rousey for this because for me, she still hasn't improved as a singles competitor, and I think it's really unfair to put any sort of criticism on Liv for this because let's be honest, Liv was forced into cashing in her Money in the Bank contract on Ronda, which was the most stupid thing to do because we knew we were now going to get a Ronda Liv series. So her complete narrative since Money in the Bank has just been complete toilet and complete trash. But I actually thought this was the perfect spot for it because you've just had that 6-man match, absolute banger, and this match was purely there to bring the crowd down a level so that they could just boo the living hell out of Ronda, which to be fair may even do Ronda favors because now it's just building her more as an out-and-out heel that people generally don't like. So there are some pros to it. The finish was a bit sort of like, I don't know if it was the production value on how they broadcasted it, but it was like I couldn't actually see what Ronda was doing. All I could see was Liv's head wedged between Ronda's arse and leg, and I was like, I don't know what's going on here. But the smile was a beautiful touch. Like I texted you and said, it gave me very Harley Quinn vibes. And I thought, like, if this is the point where they're going to reinvent Liv, give her a new character, give her a new direction, this is the perfect time to do it. So for what it wasn't the best match, but it needed to happen so that these two can now go on their separate ways, do something completely different. Ronda has built more heel heat, which is ultimately the best thing for her. And you never know, they might bring Charlotte back, and Charlotte might actually get cheered from some people if she's going to face Ronda. But this is going to hopefully give Liv a complete brand new, fresh restart, and she can actually get some creative and not be screwed over by being forced to cash in the Money in the Bank contract that quick again.
Unfortunately, Liv has suffered through creative booking for a number of months since having the best night of her career. It's never followed on the same way since. And I feel like in the back of my head when I was watching the match, I was like, I know I predicted Liv going in, but as the match was going on, I was like, it's not there. As long as they keep this going on with Liv, it wasn't going to get any better. And it's not really, I felt completely through the thought of Rome. Yes, of course, you can say what you want with it. There are people are not fans of Liv Morgan out there, but I can see the passion, I see the dedication, I see the drive to want to get to want to be one of the best. So I want to give it that time. But I think now with the fallout of this, could be the best thing for her. Same with Ronda Rousey. She was always booed out the way that she won the title. Just missed it as well. She can go off and be the baddest bitch that she was. And Liv Morgan now, there's a backstage thing that was done with that Megan Morant or whatever her name is. I can't remember. One of the backstage announcements. And she said she was trying to look for Liv Morgan. Saw her there, sort of like cowering in the corner. Still uncertain. It felt almost like watching a Mankind kind of character. But I mean, Liv is into all the horror stuff. So she's going to go down that way, a bit of psychotic stuff. I mean, she likes all like the Chucky stuff and all that sort of things. It's been shown with WWE graphics before that she's really into horror stuff. So this could be right down her avenue.
I mean, I know we're going back to Bray, but possibly as a sister, like as an Abby for a Wyatt faction if they're going to do it. I mean, when that backstage interview you were talking about, like if we could have got where Liv rubbed her hand down her face, if we could have got some makeup smear or something, I think Martin would have just touched it and helped it a little bit more. But I just thought this the best thing for both of them. Ronda done the best thing. She completely she's been doing it the whole time anyway. Whenever crowds booed her, she's always just played against it. But like you said, that baseball bat was the worst thing for it. If anything, they should have done it so the baseball bat was a one and only shot to finish it. Ronda could have taken the bat to Liv's, I don't know, midsection back or whatever, and then tapped her out. I think it would have probably worked a lot better. But yeah, there was points when they were on the outside, and they almost looked like they was hitting each other with like a softball bat, and it was like one of them padded foam ones, and it was just really unimpressive. And I was like, this could have been done. So I mean, like, let's look later on the night, and you have Bayley versus Bianca, and essentially what was an Extreme Rules match because anything went. Those two put on an absolute classic, and it was like it just shows that there's the two difference between on the same pay-per-view what can be good and what can't be good.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is also like, I just wish it was a kendo stick. That's what I'm going to say instead of a baseball bat. I would have felt totally different.
Believable.
It is so much more believable, and I think it would have made much more sense. When you look at the Lacey Evans match that Liv had a few weeks ago, that would have been the better way to go down.
Or even like a rounder's bat, the smaller ones that are like that long, like a policeman's truncheon or something. Do you know what I mean? Just something like less, because they look so awkward trying to swing the thing. It was just so unbelievable for me that they were actually doing any damage to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the downfall to it. I brought up KXI's comment a minute ago, and Jonesy's also spoke to me about this off air as well. What about the idea of Liv Morgan? If there was a change of character, if there's going to be this Wyatt family or group Wyatt 6 going forward, obviously Alexa Bliss has done this role before. Is it too much the same if Liv is to be involved? What does it work for Liv Morgan to be in this sort of character change going forward, to be with the Wyatt 6?
To be honest, it can't do her any harm. So why not? I mean, to be fair, I don't think Liv's character has actually really changed since she came up and she was part of Riot Squad. She's always tend to be this sort of bubbly character she always looked like she's like always into, like you said, she's into horror stuff. But even like when she's done gear at pay-per-views, she's always done like how Alexa's done. She's done themed gear and stuff like that. So at this point, I think she's probably at the lowest you can get with her character. So a reinvention is probably the best thing. Whether it's part of the Wyatt 6 or not, who knows? But just hopefully it just gets a lot better for her going forward.
Fingers crossed. That's all we can hope. I want to see her still succeed. I don't want to see her go completely down to like Nikki ASH levels where stuck in catering, it's not going right. And it feels like there's at least some direction for her going forward. And it feels like a change is needed. And I feel like they're also admitting defeat as well. They are saying, look, we failed here of what we've done with the booking of Liv Morgan, so we're going to mix it up, we're going to change it up, we're going to try something different, maybe something she wants to really do as well. Let's see how it'll be going forward. I think that's probably the closing argument for it. Let's go back to the chat for the meantime. So I want to catch up with a little bit. So we'll go probably towards quite a few of the Bray comments here, but we can get through what some of the comments we've got here. But Martin Creo is actually checking out the stream. Says doing nothing here, so just supporting SCW and you as well on this Sunday afternoon. Thank you, Martin. Hope you're doing well, my friend. It's good to see you again, and it's great to have you on board. He does go on to say that Bray Wyatt return was brilliant, and the continuity and the creepiness of the characters, absolutely indeed. Can't disagree with that at all there. Bamado says that's the genius of Bray. He can literally do anything. It could be cheesy, deep, abstract, or make zero sense. But because he's Bray Wyatt, he can make it work and get it over. Absolutely.
Do you remember the first time, do you remember the build up to the Firefly Funhouse when it was all dark and sinister and it was like you saw the Mercy, the Buzzard box just sitting on the side, and all of a sudden the first thing is it's like a kid's TV show and you're genuinely like, what the hell is this? This was not what I was expecting, but it worked and it became this thing and it was amazing. Absolutely, man. I've got total faith that Bray will knock it out of the park, whatever he does.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, creative genius, and I think under the guidance of Triple H, I think we could see some of his best work ever. And we've got some fantasy booking here from Underground Temple Place. Says Cody beats Roman at Mania. Cody versus Bray for the WWE title would be nice. Who was Brody's last match with? Cody. It makes sense. And you know what? I think it does.
That's a good shout. That's a very good shout.
Absolutely. I think quite a few people agree as well. KXI says it would be great. Tina also saying it would be beautiful. We've got, has Bro and Bray ever won the tag team titles together, or was that back in FCW? Don't remember it in WWE personally, so maybe FCW would have been the place.
Yeah, no, as far as I'm aware, when Bo came up, he was sort of around for 3 months and then went into Abstract and then became part of the B team with Curtis Axel or Curtis Henning or whatever his name was at the time. Michael McGillicuddy or whatever it was.
Yeah. Curtis Axel. But I think they were part of wasn't it the Social Outcasts at one point as well with Heath Slater and maybe someone else involved in there as well.
Weren't they henchmen for Seth at one point as well, B team? I'm pretty sure something like that.
They were indeed, yeah.
They were tag teams as B team, yeah.
They were. Marta says, are you both setting higher expectations for other upcoming premium live events after last night? Well, certainly the last three, like I said, they've closed the show in really spectacular fashion. I am starting to set the bar higher. And obviously, stories, leading into the shows, sometimes Raw and SmackDowns do feel a bit mid, if I'm being honest. But I feel like every time we get to one of these shows, there is a lot to talk about coming at the end of them. And I think that gets me excited and does raise those expectations.
Do you know what I think it is as well? Is the fact that these themed B level pay per views, so your Hell in a Cell, your Money in the Bank, well, not necessarily money, but Hell in a Cell, Extreme Rules, Day One, whatever you are, they like. I feel that Triple H will play more into the theme of the pay per view now as well. We might even like if he wants to bring back old ones. You know what I mean? Anything's a possibility. Bring back some WCW ones. Whatever it is, like the creative will be themed towards the pay-per-view. Like we won't get an Extreme Rules like last year where we had one Extreme Rules match and the rest were all normal matches. He's point proven this year. He's already done that. Every single match was a stipulation match. Every match was different. All right, different names, essentially the same, but they were all different. But I think we have a right to expect a higher standard now. But like I said, with Triple H going forward, he's not done wrong by me in the last 3 months, and he never did wrong by me in NXT. So the world's his oyster.
Absolutely. I think what's coming up is announced War Games for Survivor Series. So, I mean, that's something that we're going to be hyped for as well. All right, Crown Jewel's the next one. Not got the highest expectations for this show, but I never usually do. Some of them are decent, though. Elimination Chamber, I didn't think was that bad earlier this year. So, Crown Jewel, I don't think last year was that bad of a show to watch either. So, I mean, we'll have to wait and see how it will play out and how it will go along. But certainly the expectations are higher, and I think it's a good thing for it.
I think the thing is with Crown Jewel, obviously, I remember everyone remembers how it all started and everything that happened, but at the end of the day, it's a business deal, so they have to fulfill it. But aside from that, creative-wise and wrestling-wise, the show will still be great. What happens? The only problem is obviously that some people don't go out there, like Sami Zayn doesn't go out there. Excuse me, I'm pretty sure Kevin Owens doesn't go out there. So that's kind of the narrative you have to look at. So like we're going to get Roman Reigns versus Logan at Crown Jewel. Don't expect to see Sami Zayn there because he's never traveled to him. So that's the thing that you have to be careful with.
Absolutely. And I do expect as well Braun Strowman against Omos to be on that show as well, which is another attraction match that maybe not to get too high expectations for. Bama Dave says he beat Braun Strowman, but Bray's title was on the line. But when was the beginning of the downfall for The Fiend? Seth Rollins inside Hell in a Cell, and Seth told Ariel Helwani that he wants to do over with Bray. And I think that certainly if they were to do it again, I think it'd be a lot of fun.
I think it'd be booked properly this time. Unfortunately, the original time was a case of Vince just going, I don't want Seth losing. And it was like, well, why have you done this then? Because you're gonna piss all over it, excuse my French. But yeah, hopefully they'll rectify it and it'll be done properly. We saw Cody versus Seth in a Hell in a Cell, and how good that was for what happened was amazing. So run it again and start all over again and do it again. And I feel like it will just completely whitewash the original one that happened.
Absolutely. I was never good at French, by the way, just in case you're wondering. Tom Collin here in the house as well. Good to see you. Tom says, I still love getting an ad when I first click on your channel. Will I skip? Never. How are you doing, sir? I'm doing very well, thank you. And thank you for the kind words indeed. Of course, Tom doing some fantastic work on his channel as well. He got a lot of good inside takes, great journalistic takes as well. So make sure to go and subscribe to Tom on his YouTube channel. He's got the goal of 2,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Maybe a few of us can go and help him over there get that goal. Martin Karrion says, would any of you both now consider that Extreme Rules is an important PLE for WWE? I still see it as a B-level show, but what I would say is that I'm excited to see B-level shows again. Not that I was really unexcited before, but I just feel like there's an expectation. I kind of feel like we could get our next Fully Loaded 2000, our next Armageddon 2003, Extreme Rules 2016, even arguably was a good show. You can start getting those vibes for those sort of shows once again.
Yeah, I mean, there was a point where you would look at a B-list pay-per-view and you would be like, well, no titles are going to change hand. It's kind of like it was always kind of set in stone that nothing major really ever happens at these sort of B-level premium live events, pay-per-views, whatever you call them. But I think going forward, I think everyone is expected to be something different and something you'll remember. And you'll always like the last 3 pay-per-views I've remembered more about these pay-per-views than I have a lot of any other pay-per-views over the last couple of years because they've just been that good.
And that tells you everything. That tells you everything you need to know. And Kate Ferguson says, anyone realised that one of the vignettes for the White Rabbit died? I feel it's a target. Tim said he didn't notice that, and he says, types it as soon as Steve says it. And
was that the one where he jumps in the X and then the fire
yeah.
comes out? Yes.
Of course, we are half an hour behind on the chat, so that was said quite a while ago. So yeah, absolutely. But Bamino says the White Rabbit led us to the Mad Hatter. I think the White Rabbit part is over now because we now have Bray. We followed, and now we found, and that makes a lot of sense there with the Alice in Wonderland kind of connections as well, because we know that the Bray has done that in the Firefly Funhouse before.
Yeah, and like if you're going to go a whole Alice in Wonderland, you've got a Cheshire Cat, a Queen of Hearts. We know who a Queen of Spades is. Do you know what I mean? So the possibilities are endless where the narrative's going with this. It's, again, like I said, just very exciting to see what's going to happen.
Absolutely, indeed. There. Let's talk about another match, shall we? Because and then we can go back to the chat again. Let's talk about Drew McIntyre versus Karrion Kross, the strap match. Of course, yeah. Let's be fair here. Karrion Kross didn't want to play ball for the first start of this match. He didn't want to put the strap on. Scarlett was a big factor in this match as well, distracting Drew from numerous occasions. That led to the beatdown to the start of the match. Drew, though, of course, managed to get his hand through, get through the hole. I'm going to try and keep it clean as I can. Probably didn't succeed there. The strap was on there in the end, obviously. But it felt like Karrion was dominating a lot of this match. But, of course, Drew managed to get the comeback in. Looked like he was going to go for the Claymore. But, yeah, Scarlett got involved again. And, well, if you can't put Drew down with a fireball, do it with pepper spray. That's literally what she did. There was a lot of pepper spray involved there. And Karrion then managing to do his finish where he does the forearm to the back of the head for the finish, which for me is my preference of the two finishes that he's got over the Kross jacket. But for me, I thought that this match was okay. I kind of enjoyed the story of the match, but I felt in execution, it didn't deliver the way that I would have liked to have seen it as the viewer, because coming at the end of the match, particularly with the finish, I didn't feel that Karrion Kross was a top star going forward, which I think was meant to be the goal of him facing Drew McIntyre. Maybe they'll continue and roll it going forward into Crown Jewel. But at this particular moment, I don't know if anyone gained anything out of this match, because Drew obviously didn't gain anything with taking an L.
One person did gain, and that was Scarlett, to be fair, because, you know, like, I don't know if it was unintentional, but I enjoyed this match up until the finish. But then there was parts when they were beating each other with the straps that it was giving me kind of baseball bat from Liv Ronda vibes. Like they just weren't connecting as well as what they could have done. Obviously, I've never been the biggest fan of strap matches anyway. I find them clunky, but these two actually pulled it off really well. And so the start when Kross refuses it, throws it outside, Scarlett grabs it. I'm all for Scarlett getting more involved because she was never with him when he first debuted on Raw, and then she was always sort of there in NXT. So to get her more involved, I think is great. But it almost feels like it was more about making Scarlett a star than doing anything for Drew or Kross by the end of it. But the way they did it, I didn't personally find it as clunky as anything. The shoulder injury that Drew was selling, like when the ref came out, I thought was brilliant. Whether it was meant to be a legitimate shoulder injury, I genuinely was concerned that he was actually injured at that point. Whether that was part of the story, if it was, fantastic job, because I well and truly fell for that shoulder injury. But yeah, it was fine. And like I said, it wasn't as clunky as I was expecting with strap matches. The ending was horrendous, and I think it didn't do nothing for Kross, even though he was like the one picking up the victory here. But yeah, it's just hopefully they can go again and improve on it, because there's only one way to go from that's up from here, because the ending, you can only get better than what they've just done with that ending.
Absolutely. And the one thing we can take from this as well is Karrion Kross didn't lose, so he's not fallen completely down because then you would really not have believed in Karrion Kross going forward. And like you say, Scarlett did look like an absolute star in that. And of course, she was the missing piece of the puzzle the first time round. Obviously, Kross losing the Gimp mask as well probably helped as well this time around. We got the full NXT presentation again. But at the same time, you look at it and you say to yourself, yeah, I feel better about what I'm seeing this time. I just felt that the finish for me didn't work. But like you said, we can rewind this, do this again. And what does it lead for Drew? Obviously, Jonesy brought up the idea on the prediction show that maybe we could see a heel turn for Drew if he keeps losing. Do we see a redemption story for Drew like I want to see, where maybe he feels like it could be to the point where he might get fired again, like he feared he did before when he did the video package for Clash of the Castle, talking about 2014? Or do we see the Scottish psychopath come back, someone who's going to turn on the fans, someone who's, feels like everyone's turning on him because he can't get the job done and he needs to do it for him and not do it for them?
I think more than anything, I think Drew probably needs some time off. So I would like to more see an injury angle. He's been on screen consistently for 2, 3, 4 years now.
Yeah.
In and out of the title picture, won it twice. Again, still hasn't got that moment in front of crowds, which I believe he will get. But I think if you give him some time off now, almost heart, do you know what I mean? Absence makes the heart grow fonder kind of thing. But then bring him back as a heel, like you said, go back to the Scottish psychopath stuff. Because when he come in with Dolph, it was some really good stuff. And I think at that point, if you've got a top face that needs someone fresh, write Drew off, have Drew come back. I think it could be really exciting. But yeah, I think he deserves a break more than anything because he's been consistent. Recently, they've taken him off of house shows because of injuries and stuff like that. So I think he's deserved a break at this point.
And true, and he's had food poisoning recently as well. It's a miracle he's actually got through this program as well. So maybe a break is probably the right thing to do for Drew right now. And I mean, I think probably the best way of the story that I'd like to see with him do is almost like a redemption story. The fact that maybe he has the self-doubt in himself, obviously that going to WrestleMania. But I also have seen Jonesy before say he'd love to see Drew versus Gunther at WrestleMania. That's a match I definitely would like to see at some point further down the line as well. Let's go back to the comments then in the meantime, because I want to catch up with the chat, or at least a little bit catch up with the chat. Martin says, I wonder if Bray will go back to his roots of the Fiend or become more like a darker cult leader or the Fly Fight Funhouse puppets. I mean, the thing is, as I said, I believe we can get more of the Eater of Worlds Bray going forward.
Maybe Phantom of the Opera and he lives in the basement. Anything, man. Like I said, anything's a possibility. But yeah, just like I said, I'm just really excited to see what happens. But we'll tune in tonight and hopefully we find out a little bit more.
Yeah, I have to wait and see. Do you know what? I've got this vision now. It's the Phantom of the Opera with just like Bray there with a piano playing away. But yeah, probably yes. It could probably work. Bamaday says, I definitely love Bray terrorizing the Judgment Day. I hate them so much right now for what they did to Edge and Beth. They're the biggest heels in WWE right now. Have to agree. We'll be coming onto that topic very shortly, Bama. We're not going to wait too much longer to talk about that match. I'm really excited to do so as well. Kate says, I don't think he will use the Fiend for a while. Martin, I see him using the Fiend like Demon Finn Balor. That would be an interesting way to bring it on one-off special occasions. Do you reckon that could be a good way to do it for Bray Wyatt going forward?
Yeah, I think if you were going to do that, I'd personally like to see him use the Fiend as like someone who writes someone off for an injury angle or someone that needs time off, that you bring the Fiend in to absolutely destroy. Like, for instance, if you put him against Drew wants 3 months off to rehabilitate, recuperate. Do you know what I mean? Spend some time with his wife, which obviously doesn't, that like, do you know what I mean, with the traveling schedule they have. Have him be the Fiend, absolutely destroy Drew, write him off, and do it like that. I think that would be really good because in that way you've got a reason for the Fiend being there, and in that way you don't have to book the Fiend to lose because that will be the Fiend's thing. He will destroy people to get rid of them so they can have time off.
I would agree. That could actually be a good way of doing it. About half an hour seeing this comment, Richard, but I'm going to say comments like that are not welcome in the stream. So yeah, if any more silly comments like that, I will have to put you on a timeout. We'll move on in the meantime anyway. Let's talk about the ladder match, shall we? Let's talk about Bianca Belair versus Bayley. For me, this match I thought was a very good ladder match. It was a different ladder match to what you would expect usually with the high flyers and flippy stuff. This was more like the old school style ladder match you'd see back in the day. First time over for the women one-on-one as well. What I would say as well, I mean, you had the athleticism, the strength of Bianca Belair, Bayley being the catalyst that would stop that on every turn. I like the way that they used the ladders in this match. I like the fact that ladders were sort of the hinges were broke off to just pull them apart and use them as weapons that way. Thought that was a fun little touch that was done into the match as well. Love the elbow drop as well from Bayley running off the ring apron to Bianca on the floor. Thought that was fun. It looked like that Bianca was going to get ahead in the match, and of course Damage Control did come out. Of course we didn't have Oscar or Alexa in-house because they were written off on Raw, but Bianca managed to overcome them, which I thought was a little bit of a moment where I think I would have preferred to see someone help her, or at least some sort of mistake to make it easily done, but it felt like they were easily brushed aside by Bianca. As we got towards the end of the match, Bianca picked up the victory, of course, hitting the KOD. Well, Bayley was holding one of these pieces of ladder and went onto it. It looked really gruesome, really brutal, and then Bianca went up and collected her championship. I thought that this was a solid ladder match. I really enjoyed it, and it felt like an old school ladder match to me. And I thought that was almost a part of the touch that I enjoyed it most. So yeah, for me, this ticked a lot of boxes. What were your thoughts?
For me, Bayley is Mount Rushmore for me. Every time I see Bayley in every capacity, she always just ticks the boxes. It's exciting. You don't know what's going to happen. Some of the crazy stuff they do, like you said, when she broke the support hinges off the ladder. No, I personally can't remember anyone else doing it. Just the way they actually used the ladder in this. But then props to Bianca Belair as well for stepping up. The double KOD at the end was beautiful. I think the plus to this is it's just made Bianca look a hell of a lot stronger. That the fact that she was able to take on all three members and come out victorious. Just thought it was an outstanding match, and do you know what I mean? I watch Bayley every day, and I just think these two can go again, and it would be just as good, even if it wasn't in a stipulation match. Just absolutely unreal.
Absolutely. I mean, I think this isn't finished, even though you could argue here that we could do something different going forward with these ladies. I just feel that Bayley is not going to give up. Her plan worked so perfectly up until the last stage. I think that she'll reevaluate, go forward, and go again. I could see a rematch down the line.
Yeah, it's a case of that if the creative is that they do want Bayley to take that title, it's going to be really hard to now justify it if it's not in, for example, a ladder match, one-on-one. Maybe, I don't know if it's, for instance, a submission match. Maybe it's just for me as in a context kind of way. These two one-on-one with Bayley winning the title, I find harder to believe now after the dominant display that Bianca's just had in that match.
Yeah, I mean, she looked particularly strong. She's shown why she is head and shoulders above the rest of the women's division right now. I do think as well, building to War Games, that they'll continue this feud going on until that point, and I'm hoping that we'll get Becky Lynch by that point to be inserted on the babyface side. Of course, she was written out, wasn't she, at the time? Alyssa says, a storyline there, Wyatt 6 versus the Bloodline. Roman takes the title off of Bray... takes title for Bray Wyatt. Okay. Roman is a champion, though, at the moment. I think maybe she means the other way around. But yeah, I mean, they could do that. I personally don't want that to happen at this moment, if I'm honest. Even though War Games is coming. I just, like we said, it's the attraction thing for me.
Yeah, this is how I feel he should just be booked as an attraction. He doesn't need titles. He just needs to do some spooky, crazy stuff, just like how The Undertaker used to be back in the day. But they can obviously, with production quality and stuff now, when they make these shows, that they could do some absolute mad stuff, and it's going to be really exciting to watch.
Absolutely, yeah, going to be very exciting indeed. Obama says, personally, I don't want Bray ever near a title unless it's to rip it away from a loved babyface. The beginning of the end for the Fiend was when he won the world title. The Hunter became the Hunted. Exactly. I think that takes away the genius of what that character is. Personally, we're going into some of the comments then with now the Brawling Brutes. So we got to Imperium and Brutes kicked the hell out of each other. They really did. Volta wasn't pinned, which I liked. Saves him. Volta versus Pete Dunne next. They could do that. I need the rubber match though with Sheamus first.
Yeah, it was just a shame that because there was one point when it was Pete Dunne versus all three of Imperium, and it was like, it's a shame that they don't play into the fact that Pete Dunne was UK champ and faced Walter one-on-one in a capacity. But even then, the way Pete Dunne went straight for Gunther instead of the other two, I thought was brilliant.
Absolutely, indeed. That after banger as well, Tino. Rich Hollander's really improved. Not going to lie, pretty trash, but used to think he was pretty trash, but he's improved. Really has improved. He's getting over, and I like the fact that he's getting over as a babyface as well. I thought that was going to be a tricky task at the beginning, but they're doing it well.
Yeah, he was very unfortunate in NXT when he injured his leg when he jumped off the apron or fell off the apron one night. And I'm glad that it's worked out for him, and he didn't end up being like how Apollo Crews was rushed up to the main roster and kind of fell flat ever since. And like he's now having to go back to NXT to reinvent himself and come back again. But yeah, like I said, glad to see he's doing well.
Absolutely. Noob says we're going to need another match between Sheamus and Gunther. 3, probably at WrestleMania 39. I totally agree. We need to number 3 match. Personally, by WrestleMania 39, I'm still happy for them to fight forever. I'm hoping it's match 75 by then.
Why not make it a 60-minute Iron match? I want to just see chops and beats of Bowden for 60 minutes. Why not?
God, think of the chest, man. I don't know. The
Sheamus.
in 15
Sheamus
minutes to state.
His hamburger
God.
meat chest would be ruined, I know.
I'm in pain thinking about it. Actually, in physical pain.
He'd have a chest like Kofi after Big Show chopped him.
Oh, God. Jesus. Absolutely. Bama, Dave, do you guys ever think that victory puts a questionable loss on SmackDown was enough to give Sheamus one more shot at Gunter? I think he deserves another shot at Gunter. Definitely, we want to see it again.
I think it's their get out of jail card for a reason to push it on for another one because I want to see these two go again. And to be fair, I don't even think they need it. They could have just said, Sheamus wants to go again. Let's go again.
It's enough for me. I'm not going to lie. Does anyone else disagree in the chat personally? Some says that why wait till Mania? Could do it at the Rumble day one. I mean, honestly, don't know how you do it. Do you know what? I'd even do it this week. I don't care. I don't need to wait for it anymore. That's how keen I am to see it.
I'd personally go Survivor Series. I think it's I think if they're going to do an Intercontinental title change, you're better off doing it at Survivor Series. US crowd, they'll pop harder for it than what a Saudi Arabia crowd would.
I do think Crown Jewel will probably be the likely one, though. But I do agree with your comment there. Underground says, "Rich and Sheamus go for the tag titles. If I'm honest, I don't want to see a third. I kind of want to see Volta versus Dunn next, and that's fair. I want to see all of them." And Tino once again after banger. Kexler says, "My friend told me the live match was bad, so I skipped it. It was the weakest match on the card. But the thing is, I wouldn't say necessarily like don't watch it because it's like." There are things to take away from it, as we said, mainly the finish.
There's story beats in there that you probably need to go back and watch to take away from, like I said, the ending, especially for as bad, as confusing as it was. I think there's something in that ending that needs to be taken into consideration.
Absolutely, yeah. I would agree with that. Tina's Time says, Liv's reign is over with 3 crying face emojis, but not surprised your probably least favourite match. So seems to agree with us on that. Ronda doesn't need a title. Liv should have won. Underground says, can't agree with that. But I guess we're getting Ronda versus Becky at Mania. Absolutely. Again, does it need a title? Probably not.
I think, though, to be honest, I think it's just a point where Ronda needs a win at Mania because she hasn't won since that inaugural tag match with Kurt Angle. And she finally needs to pick up one. And if it's going to be over Becky, no, not for me, unfortunately.
That would be controversial, wouldn't it? Charlotte return on Friday, potentially, says Tino's Time. Can we see it?
Yeah, possibly. Like I said, I think it's one way to get Charlotte Flair cheered if you put her against Ronda Rousey, if I'm honest.
Kexo says Ronda winning was the best choice. Liv just isn't ready. Well, we can start building for Ronda for her future opponents, and there doesn't look like they're going to do Raw versus SmackDown anymore at Survivor Series. But just in case they were, Ronda versus Bianca, anybody?
Solid, absolutely solid. Like, then again, I'm always like, bring NXT into it, but Mandy Rose in there as well. Why not go all out for it? But Ronda Bianca is a money match.
That would be a money match indeed. KXI says also could lead to Shayna beating Ronda. It certainly would be a feud I'd be keen on seeing.
Yeah, we've talked about it before. I'd love to see Shayna and Ronda do some sort of story going forward now. Like, almost in anything, that's probably more likely going to be the story now. Is it's going to be Shayna going after that championship from Ronda? Because I think if anyone can get Ronda to a decent match or like a higher standard, it's probably going to be Shayna because of their obviously ties to UFC and stuff.
Absolutely. Bama Dave goes on to say, amazing how more intrigued in the 12 seconds I saw Liv after the match than the 12 weeks she had the belt. It's time for a character to go deep, dark, and delusional. What a great comment.
Absolutely.
I can't disagree. And Tina actually says, right, David, that smile was weird. Absolutely. But KXI says she did. It was cringe. It felt so forced, KXI there.
But it was almost like like she enjoyed the pain kind of thing. So like I said, that's why it gave me Harley Quinn vibes. Like I said, she seems to enjoy it. And I think if that's, you're going to go deep, dark, and delusional, like Dave said, man, make her a sucker for pain. And she loves being inflicted with pain, and she loves like dishing out as well.
Bring it back to the Right Squad days. That's kind of where it could go to. And yeah, Bama Dave, I should give you the credit to that because you actually did send that to me. So thank you, Bama. I do appreciate that. Bama, keeping me in the know. Where would I be without you, Bama? That's what I ask. Nubus Co says we're going to get Becky versus Ronda at Mania in LA because I already heard a lot of people want to see mid-card titles for the women's division. That probably wouldn't benefit anyone. Well, no, I mean they got the tag titles. I kind of feel like they're the mid-card ones at the minute. I mean, I trust in Triple H to book things properly, but I feel there are so many championships in WWE right now. I'd prefer more stories. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean that ultimately makes up for your lack of titles is if you have good stories, because again, this is what we invest in for long term rather than people winning championships. We want to know the reasons why these two are fighting for championships. Don't get me wrong, I've always been an advocate for a women's intercontinental championship, but they've got so much talent in that women's division. It almost feels like they need a mid card title. But then again, like you said, the tag titles feel like they're a mid card title. They need to start building a tag team division, like when we watched SmackDown, and I texted you that thing I saw on Twitter that said instead of having Zelina Vega in charge of Legado del Fantasma, they should have had her and Elektra in there, because then they could have been a tag team for that women's division. It would have made all the sense in the world.
And it could have actually protected Elektra, because I think she's not ready for the main roster myself personally. I think that she's probably still a bit green. She's not had enough time on NXT TV. But I like the suggestion you put forward there. But I mean, with Zelina, for me, I feel that's hand in glove moment there. I think that could be even better partnership than with her and Andrade. That's how successful I think that will be.
Yeah, I just hope that they don't obviously tend to run it back like they did and make it a carbon copy of what her and Andrade was, because that was obviously one thing. This seems to be something completely different. So, yeah, hopefully they just do something different and make sure it's not the same.
Absolutely, and to be fair, I think Santos is going to be a big deal in WWE. I think
He should be.
Absolutely. And Greg says, in the Bianca versus Bayley ladder match with Io and Dakota getting involved, would you guys mark out if Sasha and Naomi returned to assist Bianca retain, leading to War Games? Would have made a lot of sense to have done so. The only thing I would have said that takes it away here is we've got the Bray return at the end. Would it have overshadowed? Is it too much in one night? Because this will be a big pop and a big return as well. Could even have a similar kind of vibe of emotion if WWE want to give us that sort of return vibe if Sasha and Naomi would have come on a different date.
I actually felt it would have probably undermined their return if you'd have had them return, because Bray was the big deal that everyone was looking forward to. That I think if you'd have had Sasha and Naomi come back, people would have still talked about Bray more than anything, because Bray wasn't in the company. As far as we're aware, Sasha and Naomi are still employed by WWE. So I think this would have been the reverse, and it would have hindered them more than anything.
Absolutely. Bama's got a take, by the way, very quickly here. It says, greeting of the unification title between Becky and Ronda. Becky undisputed. He loves that catchphrase, and I think it's a great idea to do Becky. Instead of the man, Becky undisputed, or Becky two belts, just Becky undisputed. There we go. I'm plugging it for you, Bama. And that allows them to create new mid-card titles on Raw and SmackDown. That's the only way that I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, exactly. And then that way you can have the champs go between Raw and SmackDown. Like it's almost like you should have Raw and SmackDown brands, but the champs can go wherever they want, and that way you've got an excuse to have a mid-card title.
Absolutely. I was speaking about the War Games, by the way. KXI reckons the idea of Candice and Indy Hartwell could be taking that spot in that story instead of a Sasha and Naomi. So they wouldn't be against that idea.
Yeah, I'm all game for Candice, and she Indy has done her best stuff when tagging with Indy, and Indy has done her best stuff when she was tagging with Candice in NXT.
Absolutely. Becky versus Ronda, Belair versus Ripley, both at Mania. Would love to see it. And we've got Belair versus Charlotte at Mania. Let them beat all the 4 horsewomen, and that'll be the best women's match since the pandemic, in his opinion. Do you know what? I think Belair versus Charlotte is a match that does need to happen at some stage.
Yeah. There was a comment from Ronda where she was talking about the possibility of getting Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir back in WWE, so we can get the 4 horsewomen versus the 4 horsewomen at some point. Well, obviously not likely going to happen in a minute, because I think one of them's contracted to AEW.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not going to happen in time being. Bray going to SmackDown. Richard says here, wins the Intercontinental Championship as confirmed and rumoured. Not sure I've seen the rumour, but what I will say is Bray versus Gunther still would be a banger of a match. Let's talk about the last 2 matches. That would be an awesome match. Let's talk about the last 2 matches, then we can just go strictly chat. Literally chat to finish. So let's talk about the soap opera that was Edge versus Finn Balor, the I Quit match. Of course, the traditional with the I Quit match, obviously the microphone being put in the face where they kind of go, no, or go to hell, or I'm not doing it. You know, all the way through. No, don't get me wrong. I find it sports entertaining. I quite enjoy it. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I don't mind it.
It's cringy. It's cringy as anything, but I love it, man.
I love it. It's better because it was just a tap or whatever. It's just like, no, I like hearing the idea of someone actually saying, I quit. I think it's always fun. So for me personally, I didn't mind how the story was building. I like the fact it went through the crowd. I liked how they were building things up. But this really went to another gear when, as expected, the Judgment Day were getting involved, because once it looked like Finn Balor was going to say, I quit, Edge had him in the submission there. Damien Priest comes to make the save there, followed out there with Dominic Mysterio as well. We've got Rhea Ripley on the floor. We see then, of course, Edge being handcuffed, of course, to the ring rope and almost inevitably going like, screwed here. You just see the camera work of the acceptance of he's going to get beaten down here. Obviously, Rey Mysterio looks to try and make a save. He gets beaten down by Dom. Immense heat on Dominic Mysterio, by the way, for attacking his father. The commentary from Michael Cole, again, exceptional at this moment. Absolutely loved that. And of course, then the save was made by Beth Phoenix. Of course, that she came out, of course, making sure that Edge could get out of there. Of course, she took Dominic Mysterio out of the ring at the time. So it was her. It was mummies at war, wasn't it, Beth and Rhea? Let's be fair here. And obviously, with Edge being released from this, he looked like he was going to get the win. I think was it 3 spears he did on Finn Balor? It looked like he'd done.
Yeah, it was,
I even thought the brilliant spot, by the way, of Edge doing the spear through the ring rope that landed all the Judgment Day to the floor. That was a fantastic spot. Deserves a mention on its own. But obviously, as we got towards the end of the match, of course, Beth Phoenix was taken out by Rhea Ripley. There was Brass Knuckles. Yeah, the knuckle dusters. The brass knucks were on the hand there, knocked her down. Of course, then Edge was taken out by the rest of the Judgment Day. Rey Mysterio's already been wiped out with this as well. So we had 3 coup de grace done from Finn Balor to the top rope to balance out the 3 spears. And then Finn said, look, last chance. You can say I quit. And, Edge again. No, he's not quitting. Okay, fair enough. So best way to do it. And this is where... Yeah, this is where your prediction came in solid gold to 100% perfection. The concerto moment where the chair is put beneath Beth. Rhea says she's going to do it, and then Edge goes, "I quit." Just so very sort of like, if I've got to do it, very stubborn. I'll quit then. Go on then. Could have done it a bit more passionately, couldn't he? Like, oh God, I don't want this to happen to my wife. But then you have that moment, you're sitting at home, and I don't know, it's maybe the heel in me that just wants to see the heat further from Judgment Day. I just thought myself, I looked around and was like, do it anyway. Go on, just do it anyway. And when she did, I'm not going to lie, that was my other time that I actually popped because I was like, yes, because it was just like Judgment Day here looked like absolute stars here at this point. Edge again, and Finn as well was just going on to another level again. And it's just the fact it was like, what was that, Edge, by the way? What was that? Can you say that again so we could hear you this time? I quit. You know what I mean? Just I love the way the whole thing was done from top to bottom. It was perfect. And then just that moment of Edge then consoling his wife in the ring, beaten down. Rey Mysterio back in the ring at this point as well. This is just absolute genius. And do you know what's the other thing? I've not seen anyone mention this, but I don't listen to every podcast under the sun. So if anyone has that's watching this, apologies. But I've not seen it anywhere that I've watched. No one's mentioned the name AJ Styles today that I've seen. AJ wasn't there, didn't defend Judgment Day. What side of the fence is AJ on? I love that that's the next part of the story that we could look to try and find out on the road, perhaps to Crown Jewel. For me, I'm not going to lie, it was a complete soap opera, 30 minutes. And I'm going to be honest with you, many will say that Brutes and Imperium was their favourite match. This was mine.
This one. Yeah, this was mine. This was storytelling at its finest, man. Can you imagine that 3-4 weeks ago, people were absolutely, over Judgment Day were like, nah, they're trash. Why have we got this? And this was exactly like how Riddle and Rollins was. Remember what we were supposed to get at SummerSlam, and it got delayed. And it was like amazing how 2, 3, 4 weeks of decent creative, and what they put on was amazing. Even with Edge kicking Dominic in between the legs, I was like, oh, it's beautiful. And yeah, like I said, the 3 spears, absolutely beautiful. Beth getting in the ring, getting in Rhea's face. Come on, this is the dream match you want. Come on, let's do this. And I'm like, yes, let's do this. I want to see Beth versus Rhea. It's going to be amazing. But that's now, I think, with how they've done this and the story, Beth versus Rhea is possibly a Mania match because obviously concerto, head injury, prolonged period of time off, or even like they could start this at the Rumble. Like if Rhea's in the Rumble, Beth's a mystery fucking entrant, excuse my French again, she comes out, then this builds from Rumble to Mania, their story for their match. Man, it could be unreal. But yeah, Finn Balor is just doing some unreal work now. Like I was almost giving up hope with Judgment Day with some of the stuff they were doing. I was really getting sick of the whole beating Ray down every week, but I don't know if it's Edge. I don't know if it's Finn. I don't know if it's Priest. I don't even know if it's Dominic Mysterio, but I'm absolutely loving what they're doing now. And this match played out absolutely beautiful. And I can't wait to see what happens next with these.
It's a collective. That's for me. That's what it's doing, because Rhea's almost like the puppet master. The fact that she's convinced Dom to come in, like, I can be your mummy, I can be your puppy. And the fact that she gets physical when she needs to. She's almost played that China role, as Underground has said many times previously in the chat before. I just love the way that she's presentation. Dom, since going heel, man, the heat the guy's got over his father. Man, everyone loves Rey Mysterio still, don't they? They've not turned on him yet, have they, after all these years? Brilliantly done. Finn Balor as well, like you said, the mic work of the character. He just feels like he's let off the leash. This is the Finn Balor we've been needing to see for years on the main roster. And Damian Priest is the heavy in the background. And when he needs to get on the mic, he's just got that sort of that drony voice, the presence that can just get the heel heat, the natural fit for what Judgment Day represents. It's beautiful from start to finish. I'm loving everything about Judgment Day. I actually think that Beth will be back for Crown Jewel. I think we're getting a mixed tag. I think it's going to be Rhea and Finn against Edge and Beth. That's going to be my little prediction for you now for that, because they get sometimes the legends for Crown Jewel. I think we got Lita, of course, at the Elimination Chamber. I think Beth could be the one for this show.
Yeah, it's a very good shout. As much as you're right, it probably will happen. I'd personally like to see these two just have a one-on-one match. I think it would be. I think if it's done right and you give it the proper time and you give them, I don't know, get Rhea Ripley to do a home invasion on Beth. Let her do what Seth done and let Rhea break into her home. Look at the photos and be like, "Oh, these are your kids. I can be your new mommy." I think it would be fantastic. Just absolutely let Rhea off the leash with it, and it could be amazing. Like I said, for me personally, I want to see it one-on-one, but you're right, and I wouldn't be against it at a mixed tag match. I think it would still be really good.
Do both. What's wrong with one? Give us both. We could do one for one show, one for another. I love the idea. Do that as well. When Rhea says that, have Dom there and see, look, Dom's a whole new man. Look how I raised him. Look how him now. Like, you know.
Yes.
That would be beautiful. It would be absolutely beautiful. Yes. I mean, to me, this ticked a lot of boxes. Not much more I could say. This for me gets the highest of grades of the match on the night. Sports entertainment to its finest. And Bama Davies said it earlier in the chat. It's too far back for me to go and find it, but said the amount of hate he's got for him, the job has been done to perfection. And obviously, that moves us on then to the fight pit. Obviously, we had Seth Rollins against Riddle. That was your main event of the show. The fight pit being used for the first time on the main roster. I still love the cage presentation, the way that it's done. I love the little touch of the ramp bit on the top that had the Extreme Rules colors on it as well. I thought that was really cool. Daniel Cormier didn't get involved too much in the match. Of course, a couple of times he pulled the superstars away because they were pushing him a little bit and just sort of gave him one warning, like, you don't fight me, you fight the other guy. And that's it. It was that was all we got. We saw the Peruvian necktie done from Seth Rollins again in the ring. Didn't really seem to do much to close off the match this time. I would have liked that to have been a finisher for him going forward, but it's good to see him trying to get into the MMA style. But of course, this match, it took another level, didn't it? Once it went up to that top layer area, we saw the pedigree up there. We saw a scary buckle bomb looking moment. I thought Corey Graves looked like he was going to heart in mouth moment there. And to be fair, it was scary, to be fair. I mean, should something have gone wrong there, there's no way that would have ended well. But of course, I mean, it got to a point where Riddle managed to get back with an RKO. Of course, then Rollins went into the ring. Then we got that sort of flying bro, the senton that was done into the ring. That looked painful. Looked like actually really hurt Matt actually as well. Yeah, because he was constantly screaming. It looked like he was screaming legit as well. It felt like that. I'm going to say now, and again, speculation, I have not heard it anywhere else, but I feel a little bit like they rushed to the finish after that moment because the match was finished within like 2 minutes afterwards. That triangle was put on. Seth was trying to put him into the cage a couple of times, couldn't release it, and then that was it. He tapped out. For me, I felt like that moment wasn't needed. I felt that we could have just got Riddle to get to his feet at the 10 count, and that could have been it after the big, off the top of the fight pit. I think that would have been the perfect finish. But still, I think this match was good. Wasn't great, mainly though I think the reason it didn't land into great territory is the reason because I think at this point everyone knew what was coming next, what we spoke about at the start with Bray Wyatt, knew that this White Rabbit was going to be revealed. I think a lot of people just wanted to go like, okay, can we just get this over with so we can find out who the White Rabbit is? I'm sure you were chomping at the bit at home at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I said, this Jonesy texted me and he said to me, I expect Brock to come out and challenge Daniel Cormier. And when I say Cormier come in at ref's outfit, I went, Cormier ain't fighting Brock Lesnar for nothing because he ain't in no ring shape. And I was like, we ain't getting Brock Cormier, no way. But props to him. He done a fantastic job, even for his little interactions that he had. But the fact that he told them, don't fight me. You're not fighting me. You're fighting this guy. But my whole worry was what's going to be the move off the top of that fight pit because we knew something was going to happen, and it was like we was getting to the points where I was like, I hope it ain't a powerbomb. Suplex in no way. It's way too tall because it's like what the same height as a steel cage essentially.
Pretty much, yeah.
But there was just something about it. Like to me, I don't know what it is because obviously there's no ring ropes. It's like it almost feels like it felt to me like it was just a lot worse than a cage because even though it's the same height, it just felt different. And like I said, when he done that senton off the top, like you said, man, he genuinely seemed like he actually hurt himself. Maybe it's the reason why they rushed it because, well, no, because he got out and walked out, I suppose. But
He did.
I would like to have seen the senton, like you said, play into the finish. Maybe he'd done a submission that affected his midsection more, that would have forced Seth to tap. I just think it would have played more into it. But we all knew that Riddle was going to win this because this is going to go on to a third one. It has to. Well, we all have presumed it was, and it has, and it probably will do. So it's going to be exciting to see what they do next. But I'm glad to see that they've added the fight pit to the main roster now. It's now another match that can be used on special occasions, whether it's Extreme Rules next year or whenever they want to do it. It's just an exciting dynamic to add. But yeah, overall, it was an okay match. Not the best, but like you said, it got to the point now we're 3 hours in, and I'm like, where the hell is this White Rabbit?
We need the White Rabbit. Give us that White Rabbit. Absolutely. And I will say, Fight Pit for me, here to stay, needs to be used again. I think it definitely has its place in WWE. It's a modern sort of variation of like the Lions Den match, kind of the MMA style as well. It can bring a different audience in, and I think it does have its place in amongst the company. I loved, by the way, as well, the little RVD references with the frog splash as well from Rollins in the match. That was a lovely little touch.
Even
as well.
Seth coming out doing the RVD thing as well, I thought was brilliant. Yeah.
Thought it was amazing. So quickly, let's just say we've discussed the whole show. We'll go through the comments that we've got as well, and if anyone wants to add any new ones in, you still can do, and we'll try and get through them in the next 30 minutes so we can close everything off. But what I will say is Sil, what was your rating of this show overall out of 10?
I'm gonna say an 8 because I think that the Bray return has kept it high for me. There was obviously the Liv Ronda match, which wasn't great, but Brawling Brutes, Imperium was fantastic. Judgment Day with Edge, fantastic. It just the Bailey Bianca match was fantastic. Like I said, I think if we hadn't have got the Ronda match, we'd have got something else. It would have been an even higher score for me. But yeah, I'm going to say an 8 out of 10 for me.
I'm going to go for 7.5, just because I felt that there was a period in the show, like I said, the second and third match, where I felt like it was a bit of a dip. But I do feel that overall everything else really delivered. I don't think that the strap match delivered. I think there are aspects of every match that I'm interested in coming out. I think that's sometimes more important than watching the matches themselves. In the Attitude Era, wasn't 5-star classics, but you were hooked on everything that's happening next. So they're doing something right. So the Bray thing for me, though, took it to another level at the end there. And I mean, that segment itself was a 10 out of 10. So for me, absolutely outstanding. Quick star ratings as well then. Brawling Brutes versus Imperium out of 5 stars.
4.5 out of 5.
I like that. I'm going to go for a 4.25. What was absolutely solid. Extreme Rules, Liv versus Ronda.
I'll be generous and say 1.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't do nothing for me, unfortunately. 1.5. No. We'll go for the strap match.
Strap match, I'll say 3.5. That's at the ending, just kind of soured it for me, but otherwise, it's not the worst strap match I've ever seen. I thought they delivered it really well.
2.25 for me. I thought it was all right, but I prefer as well touching the corners. That's just my personal preference of a strap match. I'm one of those that likes the White Castle of Fear days of Sting versus Vader. They're my kind of vibes. With a ladder match then, Bianca versus Bailey.
I'm gonna say 3.75 just because the way they booked Bianca to be super strong is going to be an interesting dynamic going forward for me.
Absolutely. I'm going to give you the same rating as well, 3.75 there. Edge versus Finn Balor I Quit match.
5 out of 5 for me. Absolutely fantastic. Can't wait to see what they do next.
I can't wait to. For me, the ending of it is 5 out of 5. Definitely the last half of it.
100%.
For the first half of it, I still really enjoyed it, but I'm gonna balance it down to a 4.5. But for me, as I say, it was my match of the night, and the fight pit then between Matt Riddle and Seth Rollins.
3.5, just because I feel it was slightly rushed because of what was happening afterwards.
Do you know, it's a good way to put that match, actually. We're something we haven't said that rushed. I would agree with that. The Fight Pit 3.5, I would agree with you as well there. And obviously, Bray Wyatt's return, all the stars, 10 stars, 7 stars. Dave Meltzer's Tokyo Dome stars.
There isn't enough stars in the skies to count how many I would give that return.
Absolutely, indeed. There. Well, I'll tell you what, that's us discussed then at Extreme Rules in what we do. Now it's to catch up with the chat as best as we can before we close things off. Silk, are you happy to go for another 27 minutes?
Yeah, go for it, mate.
Let's do it. Let's try and catch up on everybody. Then Bamade says, speaking of the right squad, Sarah Logan appears on the returning with the Viking Raiders. She is indeed. If Triple H can get Ruby back, maybe a remixed squad could be great for Liv, for Ruby, then versus Toxic Attraction. All the monies. That would be fun.
Yeah, for me personally, I'd rather keep Sarah as part of the Viking Raiders. I think she fits the aesthetic. When the Riot, don't get me wrong, I like the three of them as individuals. As a group, they made no sense whatsoever to me. So I'd rather just keep Sarah Logan with the Viking Raiders.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I had the choice right now that she's doing this for the Viking Raiders, that's what I'd go with. But I still think that could not be a bad thing to do long term if they were going to. Depends how
if you're going to do a one-off.
Yeah,
if you're going to do a one-off match,
yeah. I mean, Logan as well as the manager or the wrestler. That also depends on things as well for me. Underground says, I saw a lot of people moaning about how much Seth Rollins is losing, but they're not looking at how he's putting guys over like Cody, Edge, Riddle. Rollins is doing the best work to date. Do you know what? The thing is, it's part of the story. That's the story that Rollins is losing. Like it's fine.
Seth doesn't need to win because everything he's doing aside from winning is fantastic.
Absolutely. And the thing is as well, the one match he did win on a premium live event this year was against Roman. So yeah, it was by DQ. Well, no, he did win a Clash of the Castle. He won a Clash of the Castle as well. But yeah, I'm still Clash of the Castle.
I don't think anyone else has beaten Roman this year, have they?
Not that I can think of. No, not that I can think of. He's
doing
all right.
Like 2 years. He has lost in 2 years, and the Seth's the only guy to beat him. I'm pretty sure he's okay.
Absolutely, but he's not had his shoulders pinned for a long, long time. Richard says, I consider Bray as the comeback of the year for Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Well, I never know. If they do that category, certainly could be in there for us. Tom says, Morgan's character change would suit a Cheshire Cat for sure. Absolutely. We'll have to wait and see what's going on with Morgan, but certainly would suit, wouldn't it?
It's a good shout. I like it.
It's a very good shout. I like it as well. KXI says Kross and Drew was so disappointing. It was a bit disappointing, but like we said, they definitely said they can move a bit going forward.
Yeah, hopefully they can just do something different and not a strap match. So I think the whole point of the story was that Kross was just avoiding him, so it was part of the story. So aesthetically, yes, it did what it needed to do.
Absolutely. Underground says, I booked it better. There is your plug, lol. Absolutely. Underground Temple plays on YouTube and Twitch as well. Thank you for follow and subscribe. Bambadeo says, Natalia is the Queen of Hearts. If anyone needs a revamped character, it's her.
There you go. Great shout. I didn't even think of Natalia as the Queen of Hearts, if I'm honest, but yes, you're absolutely right, though. Great shout.
Absolutely. Tina Sam says, do you think it was really pepper spray? No. There was. Damn, that hurt. That was a lot of it. KXI says
he wouldn't have got up and walked out.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Would be interesting to see how his eyes will be on SmackDown this week. Actually, they should try and sell that if he's going to be there.
Yes, they should.
They should, just like Grayson Waller's going to do for Apollo Crews. KXI says, I didn't like how Scarlett helped Kross win. He should have won as clean as a whistle. I do feel that myself personally, but as you said, Scarlett does look like a star coming out of it.
She does.
But I suppose Kross needs to look like one as well. Otherwise, people will give up on him quickly.
Yeah.
There is that. Newbie Kross and Scarlett are definitely being presented as threats in this match, and hopefully they will continue going forward as well.
I suppose that's a plus you have to take out of it, that they are a threat as a couple, and it's not just Kross is the threat with Scarlett. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm all for it. I'd love to see Scarlett get more involved, and I enjoyed Scarlett's part of the match.
Absolutely, indeed. There. This is a good throwback here. Only strap match that Underground enjoyed was Bray versus Danielson at the Royal Rumble a number of years back. I believe it was 2014 potentially. That could have been maybe 2015.
No, I think it's got to be later than that, is it? Because Bray debuted in, wasn't it 2016? Bray debuted.
13. Bray was.
Oh, I might have to go back and watch that one.
Might be what we might do once we finish here. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, great shout, Underground. Definitely, it's a good match. I do remember it being a good one. Babado says I probably loved the Drew Cross ending. It revealed his mystique is all smoke and mirrors, and in the end, he's a heel who needs a woman to help him. That's the mark of a great heel that everyone will boo. Do you know what? That's not a bad shout there. Great shout.
Yeah, it's justified comment there. Great shout.
Very good comment. Do you know what, Bamit? You might just have changed my perspective. Talking about the Cross Gimp mask, what the fuck was Finn Balor wearing? Yeah, to be fair, we didn't actually mention about Finn Balor. I didn't mind it.
I actually liked it. I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was unique, something different. Like, man, Judgment Days, all spikes and pointy stuff. Then, yeah, why not? I thought the mask was all right. I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was really good.
I've always wanted to dress up as Shockmaster for Halloween, so I don't blame Finn Balor for doing so.
It's just a better version. He didn't fall over this time.
Thank goodness as well. Thank goodness. I couldn't do that. The glasses would get in the way. KXI says, like, aren't we supposed to take Kross as a serious challenger for Roman at this point? Scarlett seems like a bigger threat in his opinion. Well, that's sometimes what it can do. That's what it is. But at the same time, from that last comment, maybe I do look at it slightly differently. Who knows?
Yeah, for me, I'm the same. I can't take him personally as the number one contender for Roman at the minute. I think he needs to get a more justified win for me to be anywhere near gracing the ring with Roman Reigns.
Absolutely. I'm not sure about this Underground Temple. If it was or wasn't, I'd have to go and research it. Wyatt versus Shield anniversary at this year's Extreme Rules, I think. The Wyatt's anniversary, the Shield's anniversary, I believe, is a Survivor Series this year, 2012. I believe the Wyatts came in SummerSlam 2013. So I believe that they would have been probably the Extreme Rules match would have been at 2014, but wasn't it Extreme Rules, though, I don't think. I believe that Shield took on Evolution that year. So I imagine it was the Elimination Chamber or No Way Out, depending, doing the Extreme Rules match. But either way, that six-man tag was an absolute banger.
Elimination Chamber 2014, I think.
There we go. There we go. Some research.
Your memory is unreal for stuff like that, because like you say stuff and I'm like, yeah, sure, of course it was. I don't remember the years. I'm terrible with dates, but yours is unreal, man.
The thing is, I remember what I remember. If you tell me something I don't remember, maybe like the 50 men in the Greatest Royal Rumble, I might struggle very much, which will be coming as a video separately very soon. We're now on the road to Crown Jewel. That will be coming out very soon. So if you haven't seen that video and you want to see it, it's coming soon. Bamade says the ladder match is a match of the year candidate for me. Loaded with psychology, great suspense, and Bianca looked like a true champion overcoming all of Damage Control. She's now equal to the 4 horsewomen in my eyes. And to be fair, that's, I think, what the goal was here. The fact that Bianca she is the top. There is no one on her level right now.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard to, like, if it's not Bayley, I really don't know at this point who's going to be the one to take that title off of her, because how strong she's looking at the minute.
Absolutely. Bam also says, agreed, NXSteve. Bayley is the most underrated female wrestler in the world, in the top 5 of all time for sure. Certainly.
I'd personally have to say my number one, because I can't think of anything Bayley's ever done that I've not liked. I've always loved everything she's done, and she can wrestle, which is the most important part.
Absolutely. And we always say, Bayley, will you be our girl? That's what happens when she comes over to the UK. So it's not a surprise, really, is it? Nubicol says that match between Bianca and Bayley is all right, but Damage Control being squashed like John Cena squashed the Nexus, and of course, Oscar and Bliss are getting possible character changes. We'll have to see if they get character changes or not. They're definitely off TV for the second. A bit of a selling point, obviously, for the meantime. I think they'd just come back for revenge, if it was me guessing.
Yeah, it's a very, like, I wasn't a fan of the whole Asuka crying like a small child, if that's what you want to call it, on Raw when she had her ankle done in or whatever they were supposed to have done. Man, I'm used to Asuka that's dominated NXT for years and never lost a match. So to see her in this aspect was just not my kettle of fish.
No, not for me either. Unfortunately, I want to see that Oscar that wants to take on everybody. Yeah. Batman 901. Thank you for joining the stream. Says people are saying Bianca Belair is the female John Cena. She's certainly winning a lot of matches like Cena did. But I mean, I'm not at a stage where I would be a Belair sucks. I think she's awesome.
Yeah, in ring, I can't fault at Bianca Belair. I think she's fantastic, and I've loved everything since she was in NXT. Like, I'm still waiting for us to get a main roster heel run out of her, because you wait until you see that. That's going to be absolutely unreal when she does that.
Absolutely. She's got the personality and the attitude to pull off both sides
Absolutely.
extremely well. Underground says, I loved how they told the story with Bray returning. Rollins versus Riddle closed. Bray has history with Rollins. Riddle was celebrating. Riddle was close to Orton. Orton is the one to kill the Fiend. There we are. There's a lot of potential suggestions in that. And Underground goes on to say, I see Bray targeting Riddle first as it ties along with Randy. I see Randy versus Bray being Bray's first match. Survivor Series War Games is where I would book the match. And that's if Randy is back by that point. But of course, Tom Colohue, who was around in this chat earlier on, I don't know if he's still with us now, but if he is, give him his shout out that I usually do at least once a stream. Did say that Randy's injuries, he could be back around Survivor Series time, although he said that probably going about 2 to 3 weeks ago now. Maybe it could be around day one time. If he is back for Survivor Series, certainly would be all on board for it. I think I wouldn't want it at WrestleMania again.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't personally want to see Randy lose his first match back, even if it is against Bray Wyatt. I would rather, like that said, use Riddle as the bait and force Randy out into the open so Fiend or Bray Wyatt can then face him. I think that would make much more sense.
Absolutely. Underground goes on to say Riddick Moss has improved too. I want to see him used more. He certainly has. I think he's great.
He's great in ring. For me, he just needs a better aesthetic because to me, he just looks like WWE 2K22 generic wrestler, creator wrestler guy. He's just plain, and that's my biggest flaw with him at the minute. He's just generic.
They took the character away that they had for him before. Obviously, that had some go away heat for some people. Actually,
Yes.
I would agree they did. I did have go away heat from Moss when I watched him at times, but I always thought his dedication to the character was exceptional. And I think if he was given the right character, he could be a top star going forward.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. But if you just stick him in a ring and look at him, he's in black trunks, black boots. He ain't even got like his name or anything printed on his gear. He's just very generic, and that's my ultimate issue. Is there's just nothing special about him when I look at him.
Absolutely. Well, if Underground Temple plays as someone that I know well enough, make that template on 2K22 and mix it up a little bit, and I bet a Riddick Moss on there is probably looking pretty darn good. So, Underground, we've got faith in you. This Santos also reminds me of Zelina and Andrade. Love it. I mean, that's the thing. The Santos with that comparison there. And as I said, I think it could go a level up.
Yeah, absolutely. Santos Escobar has been very underrated, in my opinion, or very underutilized, and very he should have been NXT champion for me because he is amazing, and I can't wait to see what he does on the main roster.
Absolutely. Just to say, by the way, because we're so far behind the chat, Underground did correct himself 7 years ago. Extreme defeated Evolution. So there we go. There we are. Also, this is something actually we haven't discussed. We should discuss before we go off tonight. Underground says the album cover of Jefferson Airplane, Surrealistic Pillow. White Rabbit has 6 members in the band, which leads to the Wyndham 6. Now, obviously, Jefferson Airplane and the Feed Your Head stuff was going on in live events and going on adverts and stuff like that. We didn't get that watching from home. All of this has been word of mouth of how we've been aware of it. Do you think at any point we will get this song where we see it on television? Or is that done?
I don't know. This, it's okay. I suppose if it plays into the story, then yes, you very well may do. But it's like I said, we just don't know with Bray. It could do. It might not do. He might come out tonight, and we might just get the old Firefly Funhouse Bray. We just don't know. But like I said, if it's done creative, like we always say, if it's done creative, then yes, by all means, go for it.
Absolutely. We're still trying to catch up with the cat chat. We will do eventually. Zelina should stay a manager, in my opinion, but she's good in ring. She's way better as a manager. This is the thing. She can work both ways in this role.
Well, we was talking before, and yesterday, and I was talking about this whole Carmen Electra thing, that if you had 2 females as valets in the same faction, I thought it could really work well. Like, you could chop and change them, so you can have Electra come out with the tag team or Santos, and then vice versa, you can have Zelina come out with the tag team or Santos. I just think it would be a much better dynamic for her. And then the added point that you could have these 2 as a tag team for the tag team division, it would just make a lot more sense, and there'd be so much more options for them.
Absolutely. This is amazing from Bama here. Here's a good story. How did Zelina brainwash Legado into forgetting about Electra? Hope Electra debuts and comes after the Zelina, forces Santos to choose or find a way to team them up.
I've got this one. So when they left NXT, they all got in the car together. On the stop to SmackDown, they stopped for fuel. Electra got out. Zelina beat her up. Zelina got in the car, and they all drove off.
I like it.
You got kayfabe it. Why not?
Absolutely. I feel I've seen a couple of drama series that have done that sort of thing before. They just ended up at Monday Night Raw, SmackDown afterwards. But certainly, I think that there's definitely a future for that. KXI says Finn versus Edge was great. I personally think Edge and Finn should have main evented. Do you know what? I agree, actually. I think they should have main evented.
It should have, but I think if you'd have just had that and then Bray, I think same reason as why I think the same with Sasha and Naomi returning. I think if you'd have had that great match, I think it probably would have been underrated for the Bray return. So having that fight pit match in between, I think has justified both the Edge Finn match and Bray's return.
You're a sensible man, Silk. You're a sensible man. And I'm an evil person, Bamado says. I almost punched my laptop when Rhea did that. I hope Beth recovers and goes full Glamazon over Rhea. Give me what I want, Triple H, in full Batista mode. I love that.
Yeah, it's good. As I said, I hope they do, man. It'd be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. And just to say very much, hope people don't really think that about me, but hope not. Hope not. I'm a likable guy. I hope. I like to think I play not play, but I am a nice guy on camera. And I say good things. Hopefully, Underground says talking about the 4 Horsemen versus 4 Horsemen. There's only one match that needs all women, and that's next year's Survivor Series War Games. There you go, Pavage. Long-term booking. Do you reckon it could ever happen? I feel Jessamine Duke and Maria Shafir's days of coming back are long gone.
Yeah, I don't know, because to be honest, I believe it's I don't know, the one that's in AEW. From what I saw of her a couple of weeks ago, she seems to have vastly improved. So I don't know. Loves Triple H oversaw NXT, so it depends on whether he sees that there's money to be made in it, whether they're good for the long run, maybe even short term. If they're not tied up to contracts with AEW, they can just come in as short term deals, come in, do this match, and then leave again. I wouldn't be against it.
No, wouldn't be against it either, to be fair. Okay, so this main event I think was cut short, but I feel it never went full gear. Probably cut out because of Bray. Probably true, and like you said there, I mean, I think everyone was keen to see the White Rabbit finish at that point. Yeah. Alicia, thank you for checking that stream, by the way. Says wants to see Bray versus Finn Balor. I think that would be quite cool to see and rewind that at some stage.
Fiend versus Demon. We never got it in the first place. I think because of what was it? If it was one of them ill, I think didn't Bray fall ill or something.
Sister Abigail at the time.
We were meant to get Pumpkin Balor versus Sister Abigail. Yeah, I remember that now.
Apologies, I went there. I disappeared for a second. So I completely missed the comment. I
was just say the original match was supposed to be Pumpkin Balor because he had the orange face paint against Sister Abigail.
Oh yeah,
but
there you go.
Yeah,
that would have been. Yeah, I kind of think, what if we ever got that? Because we never got it in the end. They just dropped it after.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, it's not over yet, is it? Because now we've got a perfect opportunity to actually do it again, and it actually could be really special this time around.
Let's hope so. Bama says, personally, I'm okay with matches like Cage, Hell in a Cell, Extreme Rules, etc. being shorter matches. In reality, your body would get tired faster and get more damage from the weapons and make it feel more real. And that's a great point. Once again, it does make it feel more real. Like we said earlier on, we lost suspension of disbelief with the baseball bat in the Ronda Liv match. This actually makes sense that you're in these types of matches that, well, it's going to finish quicker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it makes sense that a cage match only goes 10 minutes because of the physical torture you put each other's bodies through. So yeah, it's just a baseball bat apparently doesn't have the same effect.
There you go. We're catching up with the chat. We're getting our reviews in for the show there for Extreme Rules. Numiko, 6 out of 10. We've got KXI saying I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Liv versus Ronda, Drew versus Kross were all stinkers. We've got NXSteve as well saying I'm going with 8 out of 10. I'm getting rid of the one of the people that's coming that's spamming our chat. We've got KXI. Actually, I'm going to go with Noob, a 6 out of 10. So a bit of a change there in the last second there. Bamadan says, does it mean that we Daniel Bryan versus The Fiend in the strap match? That was a Royal Rumble 2020. Was it really? I feel like I've missed this. I need to go back and look over everything now.
I was going to say it felt recent because I was going to say I don't think I would have because Bryan wasn't a big deal until like mid-teens. So if it would have been 2013, it would have seemed too early.
I just remember.
So yeah, very well could be.
Yeah, because Bryan versus Bray Wyatt wasn't a strap match. That was just a normal match at the Royal Rumble. So they've done this at the Rumble before. So yeah, Maybe it was 2020. There you go. It just shows now the memory is not as strong as it used to be.
It's a sign of old age, Steve.
Unfortunately, it is. That's not a good thing. But it looks like we are pretty much almost caught up with the chat now because Bamado says, hey, NXSteve, I think the woman to dethrone Bianca, Rhea Ripley. Not clean, of course, but again, more heat for Rhea. Absolutely. I think that's a match that needs to happen. Underground said it earlier on. It was a match that I even did on last year's predictions for the match card for WrestleMania. I wanted it at this year's Mania. Next year's Mania could be the perfect place for it.
No, because Rhea Ripley's going to win the Intercontinental Championship from Dominic Mysterio. I keep telling you people. But no, you're right. It should be Rhea Ripley. She's built like a complete badass at the minute. She's dominating the men's division at certain aspects of it. Also, yeah, Rhea is probably one of the top females that could go for it at the minute and legitimately win.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be fair as well, Rhea was due to have a championship match at Money in the Bank this year, which, of course, when she was written off TV, they've kind of just abandoned that. So they'll probably will go back to it at some point. So that's pretty much it. We've caught up with the chat. We've reviewed Extreme Rules. So I think we're going to wrap it up there, everybody. I think that's what we're going to do. But if you've enjoyed this video, then please do hit the like button. Please share with a friend as well and subscribe. Also, we've got KXI here with another comments coming. So we'll make sure we get the comments in that do come in. Steve, you should make a part 2 of that WrestleMania video, but for this year's. Do you know what? I will do that, KXI. I will do that for you. Last year I did it around the start of November. So, and it was just after the draft. I'm guessing we're not getting a draft now this year. So I'll probably do it after Crown Jewel going into Survivor Series. So there you go. That's when I will look to do that for you. This is a fun stream as always, guys. See you later. Thank you very much, KXI. And can I just say, before we go, I want to say a big thank you as well to NXT for the predictions video. You gave me a fantastic intro video package for that stream. So just want to say a big thank you to you.
No problems, man. Like I said, it was a pleasure to do it. I was genuinely bored one day sitting in there, and I was like, do you know what? Let me do something for you. It doesn't cost me anything to do it. Don't give me I lie. The Donny Brooke match. Do you know how hard it was to find a picture of all three of Imperium together that were looking that direction? I actually had to get one photo of them separate, like they were standing further apart, and I had to crop them all and merge them closer together. That was the hardest part. But apart from it, the rest of it was all a pleasure, man. Like I said, anytime, man. Like I said, I do it for fun, really. That's why I have this one behind me. I just do it to kill time, really, when I'm bored indoors.
Absolutely. Well, just for anyone needs a reminder, this is how it beautifully turned out as well there. So yeah, it was done exceptionally well there for us. And obviously, yeah, just to say a big thank you again. Really, really do appreciate it. Was very helpful indeed at the time there. So thank you so much. And thanks to everyone that's been watching here today. If you've enjoyed this video, then thank you for supporting SCW. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment in the comments below if you're watching on delay. What did you think of Extreme Rules? We'd like to know your thoughts in the comments below. More videos will be dropping. And of course, now the attention goes towards, well, Crown Jewel is the next show from WWE. AEW's Full Gear will be coming up as well. There'll be more live Q&As. So it's going to be a busy time on the channel. We've got the fallout of Bound for Glory as well from Impact Wrestling. So lots going on. So yeah, let's see. There'll be more Bray Wyatt stuff for sure also.
And also with Crown Jewel, that means we can watch it at a reasonable time and not 1 o'clock in the morning.
We might even be able to do a review on the same day. Wouldn't that be nice? That would be a change, wouldn't it? It would be a change. We'll have to wait and see as it will go. Well, that's all from us anyway. Thank you all for watching. NXSteve, thank you for being on as always.
Thank you as always, Steve.
Anytime. I'm going to leave you with a fantastic video package that Silk did for us. Take care. We'll see you next time.